Yeah, because I got in a car accident.
That was the script. What is that? This is the actual
I was on my way to the car, nothing had happened to me. And I get in a car accident on my way there, and I was like, guys.
Oh my god. I just looked at salad.
I looked at mine. On my way there.
There's no comments there. There's no comments.
That's like Lee and Barbara Harris.
Gotcha. Right.
They have a classroom named after them.
Oh, yeah.
But there's the one
Yeah. They fund my scholarship. But they're like the only donors for the College of Ed. Stop giving it to that one in particular. I know. What?
There are over 5,000
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so serious. Like super hyper specific funds too. And specifically for people that also have Porter in their name, perhaps. Yeah. Perfect.
You get lots of the fun.
Like it's not like this. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Whoa! Oh!
I did not pay for that.
That's a serious.
She didn't charge you?
No, she was just like,
I was super nice to her.
it was so funny.
It like literally took me like 30 minutes.
It's crazy.
Why is he walking around like that?
Yeah, like it's okay, bro. Like, take your time.
Yeah, 11 p.m. is spicy.
11 p.m.
Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you. And then like, you know, there's like a this guy.
Wasn't expecting that.
Immediately. Like, yeah,
Is fiscal year 2022 is that like entirely allocated for pay? So,
In your
on your bill, it says yeah, funds that historically underutilized, but then like almost entirely utilized since kidding, but 2023 more like this is the ongoing year?
really like.
Yeah.
No, now you're.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reserve
What do we need?
had 190,000. And so there are 9 proxies.
Okay, you had 9.
I don't know.
Doesn't look like everyone.
This is the old matrix. Like this is $1,000. This is $5,000. This is 25. This is like 2. This is $80,000.
Yeah, but then there's also like, what can we do to check in around that?
Yeah, but like I'm wondering why it's only this. But 2021.
You're missing 10 people plus 9 proxies. We're missing 19.
You get allocated your entire budget.
Oh, wait, we just got only 60K.
Wait.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
But whatever you not
I understand.
I guess why was the
You have all of our stuff. We just close. Well, no, it's alright. The participants thing is like covering the agenda.
You know they have a
Oh, yeah.
What? So she has to join us. Oh, there she is.
Hey, at least 3 or more times in the last 2 years. Two instances this past year and couldn't run for from their first.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I was like, no, I was like, I definitely.
I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, April 21st, 2022, with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations: the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was and still is stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. And with that, Juan's going to take it away with our first roll call.
Thanks so much, Evan. Anderson.
Here.
Bannister.
Here.
Barron.
Here.
Bellamy.
Here.
Broughton.
Here.
Brown. Carey.
Here.
Compton.
Here.
Coy.
Here.
DePaz.
Here.
Dole.
Here.
Grills. Heatherman. Hoffman.
Here.
Johnson. Calorie Kill. Kidd.
Here.
Nisley. Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
McFarland.
Here.
McPhee. Murphy.
Here.
Navarro. O'Donohue. Pelton.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Pilchard.
Here.
Pondillo.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Saya.
Here.
Salmon.
Here.
Shear Alexa. Stout.
Here.
Strout.
Here.
Talbert.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Volgamore.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Juan. And proxies for this week: Thomas for Middaugh, Pondillo for Gomez, Salmon for Lister, Lane for Owry, Saya for Davidson, Clara Kial for Schindler, Rogers for Davidson, Kidd for Carson Shear, and Alexa Shear for Grills. And folks, I just want to remind everyone that if you are a proxy, please don't forget to vote when it comes to roll call voting. Just don't forget to call their name out or throw up a second hand if we're doing like a hand vote on anything. Just a friendly reminder there. And with that, we are now moving into first open period. Are there any first open period speakers tonight? All right, seeing none, the minutes were distributed on Tuesday along with the agenda and legislation tracking information. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from last week's meeting? Caucus Leader Bellamy.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any objections? All right, the minutes stand approved. And with that, we will move into announcements. So pretty short list this week. We are still seeking candidates for the position of intern coordinator. Please let me or Juan or Parker or Jeff or even Kathleen or Hattie, the new Deputy Attorney General, know if you are interested in serving as an intern coordinator. You can also tell Marta, just really any of the branch heads. Let us know if you have any interest in being intern coordinator, and we can get that sorted out for you. And then we have information about proxies. If you need a proxy because you're going to be absent, please fill out the proxy form. If you need to be physically absent from Student Senate but still want to attend via Zoom, you can fill out the Zoom request form. And if you have a Senate shout out for anyone, you want to give props to anyone or just a fun shout out for Senate, you can fill out that Senate shout out form. And the SGA member of the week this week is Peyton Lynn. Peyton has been hard at work this term writing legislation and advocating for students. Thank you, Peyton, for your continued service to our organization. And then on the events calendar there, you can see the times and days of all of our upcoming committee meetings. And this is actually going to be our last week of committee meetings and Student Senate. So that Thursday, the 28th there, is our last Senate of the semester, because after that is dead week and finals week, and we don't meet during those 2 weeks. So we'll be back here in the fall for our next Senate meeting in the third week of September, because we don't have Senate the first full week of classes either. And then the quote of the week this week is, "Do not go where the path may lead, go instead where there is no path and leave a trail," and that is by Muriel Strode. Also, just want to plug the lapel pins one more time. We have lapel pins. There's a whole big bag of them up here. If you want one, you can Venmo me $3, pay me $3 cash. Cash App is also an option. Cut me a check, however you need to pay. It's $3 for one or $6 for two, in case you couldn't do that math. And with that, we will now move into commendations. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 10? Chair Long.
I move to consider Resolution 10. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 10 if the author wants to come forward. That was not Nick's getaway car.
Okay. Resolution 22-2310, commendation to former university president Dr. John Weefald. Authors are Bryce Hatchison, Blake Phillips, Evan Porter, and Parker Vogelmore. Sponsors are Josh Barron, Drew Bellamy, Tommy Compton, Alex DePaz, Kyle Dahl, Jeff Ebeck, Ashley Grills, Rachel Gromes, Jacob Hoffman, Jyoti Kalikial, Marcus Kidd, Madeira Lister, Jacob Long, Peyton Lynn, Aaron Middaugh, Andrew Navarro, Ethan Pritchard, Joseph Pondillo, Marta Richenberg, Tatiana Rogers, Ben Roth, Nick Saya, RJ Solomon, Alexa Shear, Carson Shear, Caleb Stout, Bentley Talbert, Kate Thomas, and Paige Vogelmore. Whereas Dr. John Weefald served as the 12th president of Kansas State University. Whereas President John Weefald assumed this position in 1986 and served for 23 years until his retirement in 2009, the second longest tenure in the 159-year history of Kansas State University. Whereas during his tenure, President Weefald made vast improvements to infrastructure by overseeing the addition of over 2 million square feet of building space to Kansas State University's campus. Whereas President Weefald made great strides in private funding, which led to an increase of almost $100 million in vastly expanded recruitment rates. Whereas President Weefald and his contributions to Kansas State University have left a long-standing impact, and his legacy will extend through the Kansas State University for many years to come. And whereas on April 16th, 2022, President Weefald passed away at the age of 84. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association expresses our deepest condolences to the family of President John Weefald, as well as our extreme appreciation for his service to Kansas State University. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the family of President John Weefald, Kansas State University Foundation President and CEO Greg Williams, Kansas State University Alumni Association President and CEO Amy Button-Renz, Dr. Pat Bosco, Athletic Director Gene Taylor, Coach Bill Snyder, former United States Senator Pat Roberts, former United States Vice President Dick Cheney, former Kansas Governor Kathleen Sebelius, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, former United States President George W. Bush, and University President Richard H. Linton.
Awesome, thanks, Bryce. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? I actually have one. The end of section 1 should be a period and not a colon, and I wrote it down. And are there any further questions or corrections for the author? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve Resolution 10 unanimously? Senator Lynn,
I move to approve Resolution 10 unanimously.
Second.
are there any objections? All right, seeing none, Resolution 10 will stand approved. And with that, is there a motion to consider Resolution 11? Senator Solomon.
I would consider Resolution 11. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 11. If the author would please come forward.
Okay. This is Resolution 22-23-11. Commendation to KSU men's basketball coach Jerome Tang, authors Kate Lynch, authors Jacob Long. Whereas Jerome Tang was hired as Kansas State University's 25th head men's basketball coach on March 21st, 2022. Whereas since 1993, Tang has worked as head basketball coach for Heritage Christian Academy and most recently spent 19 seasons at Baylor University as an assistant and associate head coach. Whereas during his tenure, Tang helped lead the Baylor basketball program to an NCAA championship in 2021 and Big 12 regular season titles in 2021 and 2022. Whereas Tang was instrumental in 10 Baylor NCAA tournament appearances, 5 NCAA Sweet 16 games, 3 Elite 8 rounds, and 1 Final Four showing. Whereas in his 19 seasons with Baylor University, Tang helped lead his team to a 397-222 overall record. Whereas Tang was formally introduced as the KSU's new head men's basketball coach during a press conference on March 24th, 2022, and whereas Kansas State University Student Governing Association extends a warm welcome and many well wishes to Coach Tang and his future with KSU. Be it resolved that the Kansas State University Student Governing Association welcomes men's basketball coach Jerome Tang to the Wildcat family. Upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to head men's basketball coach Jerome Tang, Director of Athletics Gene Taylor, Baylor University President Linda Livingston, Baylor University head men's basketball coach Scott Drew, Kansas State University men's basketball team members, and University President Richard H. Linton.
Awesome, thanks, Peyton. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Does someone want to defer their speaking rights to Cameron? Cameron?
The team members, are you including, I assume, just the individuals that are being retained?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you might notice, folks, that I sent you an email to your inboxes. If anyone that wasn't a sponsor on either of those 2 commendations wants to throw their name on there, just fill out that sponsorship form, and we will make sure that your name gets put on there before we send those off to all the people that they are to be sent off to. And with that, is there a motion to approve Resolution 11 unanimously? Senator Compton, or excuse me, Caucus Leader Compton.
I move to approve Resolution 11 unanimously. Second.
Any objections? All right, seeing none, Resolution 11 will stand approved. Awesome, and with that, we will now move into approval of appointments. So is there a motion to consider Resolution 12? Senator Solomon?
I would consider Resolution 12. Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 12. If the author will please come forward.
Resolution 22-23-12.
Resolution 22-23-12, approval of new student senators. Authors Bentley J. Talbert, sponsors Senate Operations Committee. Whereas there is currently 1 vacancy for the position of student senator for the College of Agriculture, Whereas Riley Coy has the next highest vote total of eligible and willing candidates in the 2022 SGA general election in the College of Agriculture. Whereas there are currently 2 vacancies for the position as student senator for the College of Architecture, Planning and Design, and Maddie Carey and Brandon Kermer have the next highest votes totals of eligible and willing candidates in the 2022 SGA general election in the College of Architecture, Planning and Design. Be it resolved that, Section 1, the following individual will be approved as a student senator for the College of Agriculture, Riley Coy. Section 2, the following individuals be approved as student senators for the College of Architecture, Planning and Design, Maddie Carey and Brandon Kermer.
Awesome. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? All right, seeing none, Bentley, you can take your seat. And is there a motion to approve Resolution 12 unanimously? Senator Lynn.
I move to approve Resolution 12 unanimously.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 12 unanimously. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, Resolution 12 will stand approved. And if anyone who is in the audience whose name is on that legislation will please come down, we can get you sworn in right now.
Yeah.
Just want to stand right there. Will you raise your right hand and say, "I will" at the end? I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and... Hold on, that was wrong. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Student Senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association. Awesome. So if you want to stay up here so you can introduce yourselves. So you want to say your name, pronouns, your major, your hometown, and then the traditional Student Senate swearing-in question is your favorite smell.
Okay, so I'm Riley Coy. My pronouns are she, her, and... Okay, so I'm from Strong City, Kansas, which is in Chase County. My major is agricultural education, and my favorite smell is Blue Stem Farm and Ranch Supply.
Hi, I'm Maddie Carey. My pronouns are she, her. My hometown is Chicago, Illinois. I live in the suburbs, East Dundee. No one knows where that is, so I just say Chicago. And am I missing anything else other than the...
You say your major and your favorite smell.
Oh, major is interior architecture, and my favorite smell is fresh cut grass.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. And with that, is there a motion to consider Resolution 13? Senator Solomon.
I move to consider Resolution 13.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 13. If the author will please come forward.
Hopefully this one's a lot better than the last ones.
Whoa, why is it like that? Everyone, don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh. Okay. Resolution 22-23-13, approval of the Global Campus Liaison, authors Jeff Ebeck, Marta Richenberg, and Parker Volgamore, sponsors Evan Porter. Whereas the Constitution and bylaws of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association specify the executive branch of the KSU SGA includes the following positions as members of the Student Body President's Cabinet, Public Relations Director, International Affairs Director, Multicultural Affairs Director, Legislative Director, Local Relations Director, Sustainability Director, Technology Director, Academic Affairs Director, Athletics Liaison, Basic Needs Director, Campus Connections Director, and Sexual Assault Prevention and Awareness Director. Whereas included in the President's Cabinet in the 2022-2023 term is the Global Campus Liaison. Whereas the position of Global Campus Liaison was sufficiently advertised through Global Campus newsletters and via social media. Whereas there was one global student applicant for the position of Global Campus Liaison, and whereas the individual was chosen on the basis of their leadership, ability, experience, and dedication to serving students of Kansas State University throughout the 2022-2023 term. Be it resolved that Section 1, the following individual be confirmed as a member of the 2022-2023 Student Body President's Cabinet, Global Campus Liaison Lenagan.
Awesome. Thanks, Marta. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve Resolution 13 unanimously? Senator Solomon.
I move to approve Resolution 13 unanimously. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 13 unanimously. Are there any objections? All right, seeing none, Resolution 13 will stand approved. All right, Lena, if you want to unmute yourself on the Zoom, we're going to go ahead and get you sworn in right now.
All right, Lena, if you want to raise your right hand and say "I will" at the end. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of Cabinet Director and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of Kansas State University Student Governing Association.
I will.
All right, so can you give us your name, pronouns, hometown, major, and favorite smell?
My name is Lena. I was originally from Singapore, but I live in Hawaii now, and my pronouns are her and she, and I am pursuing my PhD in personal financial planning. My favorite smell is soya sauce.
Heck yeah.
Awesome, thanks, Lena. And with that, we are moving into committee reports. So are there any committee chairs that would like to give a report tonight? Chair Phillips.
Hello, everyone. Sorry. A little bit from the SSF committee. We had our first meeting on Monday, and that was really cool. At our next meeting, we're going to be diving a little bit into why our budget situation is the way it is. So I know that this is one of our first meetings of the year. Basically, our student services fee budget has been coming up a little bit short the past couple of years, and by a little bit short, I mean millions of dollars short. And so on Monday, we're going to kind of deep dive why that's the case and looking at some previous enrollment statistics and different things like that. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would really encourage you to come and see what we're all about at 5:30 on Monday in the CSI conference room, just right across the hallway. Or if you're just interested in student services fee in general, please feel free to come. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Awesome, thanks, Blake. Are there any questions for Chair Phillips? All right, seeing none, you may take your seat. Are there any further committee chairs who would like to give a report tonight? All right, seeing none, are there any directors who would like to give a report tonight? Chief of Staff Richenberg.
Sorry, I forgot my name placard in my office.
Okay, so I'm going to be giving just a really short update. Jeff's going to have a little bit longer one after me with a little bit more information, but I quickly want to talk about Taylor Witt, who is our Sexual Assault Prevention and Awareness and Prevention Director. And we just wanted to share you, again, the events that she had talked about last week. So the CARE office is putting on kind of like a little resource fair next Wednesday from 11 to 1. SGA is going to have a table where we are talking about and helping advocate for the resources on campus for sexual assault victims, as it is Sexual Assault and Awareness Month. So please, if you're going to be at the Union next Wednesday between 11 and 1, please make sure to stop by. I know Taylor is saying that she still needs some support to help her with the tabling. So if you are free, even if it's just for like 30 minutes, please feel free to reach out to her, reach out to me, and I can put you in contact with her. Along with that, also next Wednesday is Denim Day. Oh, you have that up there. Look at you. Okay, so wear denim next Wednesday to show support for sexual assault survivors. We are going to be planning, if you do come by the office, we're going to take some pictures. We don't really have a specific time since we're all busy, but if you are in the Union, feel free to stop by and we can take some pictures that we can hopefully post on our Instagram as well. So that's that for Wednesday, but Thursday from 6 to 7, they're going to be doing the annual Wildcat Against Sexual Assault walk. It's a walk. I think that they're starting in Anderson Lawn, I believe. Yes. So if you want to meet them in front of Anderson Lawn at 6 p.m. next Thursday, the 28th, to show support for sexual assault victims and survivors as well during that time. So, yeah, does anybody have any questions for me? That was a lot. Joseph, yes.
Yeah, thanks, Marta. Are there any questions for Chief of Staff Richenberg? Chair Pondillo.
Do you know approximately how long the walk would be? Because for us, since spoke at 7.
Perfect. I believe it's an hour long. If I remember correctly, though, last year, just from basing off talking to people, the last, like, I would say 20-ish minutes is normally takes place, and it's kind of like where people can walk or to talk about their experiences. It's a very much a come and go thing. So if I still encourage everyone to go and just leave whenever you need to be there, be here for Senate. But great question.
Yeah, thanks, Marta. Are there any further questions for Chief of Staff Richenberg? All right, seeing none, you may take your seat. Are there any further directors who would like to give a report tonight? Vice President Ebeck.
Thanks, Ethan. So I kind of have other updates from other positions in cabinet. So our local relations director met with the Chamber of Commerce and basically talked about the parking garage and when the fees are going to start in that. So it will be free for everybody to park in the parking garage until July 1st, and that's when they will start charging. Also kind of talked about the new the new biomedical kind of facility coming in that approximately, from what he said, could have heard him wrong, but he said 12,000 jobs are coming to Manhattan through this. 500 jobs, okay. I don't know where he got that number. And then kind of a new updated Aggieville vision. So I don't know if anybody saw a tweet or Facebook post. They're kind of bringing in a updated facility behind Kites. So they're kind of going to take out that street and make it a pedestrian walkway, but also kind of just updating other areas of Manhattan to their vision is turning it like a suburb. More specifically from me, I will be working for the city of Manhattan this summer, so if anybody wants to stay in touch this summer or are going to be here, I will gladly help with anything. I also will be the sole representative at ITGA, so International Town Gown Association at Clemson this summer. So basically hoping to keep the top 3 ranking of Town Gown through the Princeton Review. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Awesome, thanks, Jeff. Are there any questions for Vice President Ebeck? Senator Lynn.
What's your job for City of Manhattan?
So I basically am just going to work in the city manager's office. So I will basically be covering Furniture Amnesty Day, and also like they want to do a really cool event that actually previous Vice President Koger worked on was kind of a welcome day for students, not welcome day, but like welcome events for students through the city of Manhattan. So like showing them all the like fun things they can do through the city and anything like that.
Are there any further questions for Vice President Ebeck? Senator Kidd.
Sorry. Did they give you information regarding how much the rates would be for parking in the garage?
I don't think so, but I think it's going to be kind of like how our parking garage works here, so like hourly rates, but then like they won't continue to keep charging you once you hit like that $12 mark.
Yeah, I think Parker mentioned that they're going to be like offering prorated rates if you want to park overnight and just leave your car there. Like they won't be billing you for the whole entire night. So they're still like thinking about how they want to structure the pay scale.
Follow-up?
Granted.
Are there like passes that you can buy? Do you know?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think not, but that might be part of the like conversations they're still having.
Thank you.
Also with the new economic development that they want to do, like behind Kites area, they're also thinking about putting in another parking garage.
Fun fact. I know the structural engineer that designed the parking garage.
No way.
That was a fun fact. Anyway, sorry. Are there any further questions for Vice President Ebeck? Seeing none, you may take your seat. Are there any further directors that would like to give a report? Communications Director Getz.
So quick display settings first. Behind the banner, the Zoom banner. Click that one. And then you
Okay, so I just kind of wanted to give a brief report about SJ Outreach and how not only I can help, but you guys as well. So the SJ Instagram, follow us if you aren't already. But I plan to have content 2 to 3 times per week on the Instagram, just showing others like how involved we are and what really we do, just informing them more. What you can do as a student body is like if we have like an event going on or something like that, just like reposting on the Instagram will really help for outreach and to just show kind of what we're doing. And then it shows them the kind of stance we have within the university as well. So the number one goal is to effectively outreach different people in different colleges. So everyone, as a senator, you represent your college. And it's really important to kind of understand from the other standpoint why you represent them and what you do. So I have a couple ideas that I'd love to work with other senators on. But one thing you guys can do is go to those clubs, organizations, tell them what we have going on, and help them get connected through SGA. What content I will be posting is I really want to do an SGA Member of the Week. Oh, you can go to the next slide. Just to kind of show kind of your importance, your role, and what you do. And then committee spotlights as well, events, and then I've thought about doing a weekly video for the student body president and vice just to kind of show what they're doing. And then events to effectively help gain members. I've thought about doing a lot of partnerships or sponsored events for SGA. If we get like Coach Chang to come do a student senate and speak, that would be a great way to repost and get people to come, as well as polls. And then reach out to me as well regarding different ideas that you have that you think would help. Improving the website, when you first go on to student government at K-State on their official website, I kind of want to change the look of it, so I'll be working with IT, hopefully to improve this and just the look of it overall, as well as Org Central training. I know a lot of us are new here, and to have an advanced kind of training that makes everyone feel comfortable, I think would be an overall goal. And then if you need something posted, just give me 2 to 3 days. If it's last minute, I'll understand. But just to create graphics, send you different looks, I think would look good. And then, yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Kennedy. Are there any questions for Communications Director Getz? All right, seeing none, you may take your seat. Are there any further directors who would like to give a report tonight? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and move into final action on Bill 1. If the author will please come forward. Just as a side note, for anyone who is confused why we're back on Bill 1, the Senate Executive Committee held this bill for 1 week, and now it's on the floor. Have any changes been made?
No changes have been made.
Awesome. You have first rights to debate.
Yeah, of course. Again, my name is Trams. I am the author of this bill and also the chairman of academic competition team. Again, no changes have been made to this bill. Like I said, the committee have been doing the best effort into, coming up with this recommendations amount. And on top of that, again, like I mentioned 2 weeks ago, the only one on here that do not have funding is Quiz Bowl Club. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tram. You can take your seat. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, we are now seeking...
I have an amendment.
Chair Saya, will you state that amendment? JK, we'll pull it up on the screen.
It's on the screen.
Do you want to come up and explain it?
Yeah. Okay, so this amendment does the exact same thing that Tram just talked about, which was give money to Quiz Bowl.
How?
Thank you for that question. So, as part of the original allocation, ACT was going to draw $2,700 from its reserve account. This bill just takes an extra $2,100 out of that account to give it to Quiz Bowl. To my knowledge, there's somewhere in the ballpark of $16,000 in the reserve accounts. I spoke with members who were on the committee, and it was their determination that they, first of all, decided to give Quiz Bowl no money because they decided that Quiz Bowl submitted their application late. But absent the fact that Quiz Bowl had a late application, this is a completely appropriate funding amount.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. You have first rights to debate on the amendment.
Thank you.
Chair Phillips.
That requires a second to consider the amendment.
Oh, excellent. Is there a second on the amendment?
Second.
All right, there you go. Now you have first rights to debate, Nick.
Thank you so much, Evan. Okay, so that's the amendment. That's why I'm making the amendment. And you may be asking two questions. The first question is, how is this different from last week when we decided that an amendment was illegal? And how is this different from what you debated last week, which is that late applicants should not receive their money? I'd be happy to answer both questions. Let's start with the first question, which is whether or not we can actually make this change, whereas we couldn't for rodeo and baseball. The reason why that's different is because, for whatever reason, the student services fee contract that we've established with the Sports Clubs Fund does specify very specific uses for the reserve accounts. In this particular case, the ACT reserve does not require that it's used only on nationals or for some other particular purpose. It's much more flexible, which means it's completely fine to use it now. You are not committing a breach of contract by voting in favor of this amendment tonight. But let's tackle the second, more substantive question, which is whether or not this applicant was actually late in the first place. And that's the reason why I'm debating tonight. Now, originally, there was a 4 o'clock deadline submitted for the last Friday in February, set by the SGA treasurer for all academic competition team applicants. That's totally fine. This particular applicant, Quiz Bowl, thought that the deadline was 5 o'clock and was in the middle of filling out their form when their application closed down. They emailed the treasurer, who sent them back an email that they would reopen the form until 6 o'clock to give that particular applicant the chance to submit their application. The problem came the next day when the Academic Competition Teams Committee reviewed that original request. It was their determination that because it was not in by the original 4 o'clock deadline, that it should be considered late and not given money. Again, I want to make it very clear, this amount of money would have been totally fair, absent the fact that it was late. The only problem is we see a discrepancy in what was communicated to the applicants and what was decided by the committee. And you may also be asking yourself the question, as I did, why the treasurer does have the right to set the original 4 o'clock deadline, but does not have the right to extend it to 6 o'clock in order to accept the applicant in the first place. Given this discrepancy, I believe the only solution we have is to actually refer back to what the statutes say that govern ACT deadlines in the first place. They're the only thing that can go above treasurers and committees. They're the fairest way to handle the situation. So if you go to Chapter 21-0103, Section A to D of the statutes, all academic competition team requests must be submitted by the last Friday in February. It's very straightforward. It doesn't say 4 o'clock, it doesn't say 5 o'clock, it doesn't say 6 o'clock, it just says by the Friday. And that application was submitted 40 minutes after the application form was reopened. Absolutely and without dispute, that application for Quiz Bowl was submitted by the last Friday in February. Whether you think that it was right for the treasurer to set the original 4 o'clock deadline, whether you think that it was right for them to extend it to 6 o'clock, whether you think it was right for the committee to consider them late, we can go in circles all day about what people should have done, what people should have said, and what they should have known. The fairest and most generous thing to do is to simplify it, break it down, go back to what the actual rules say, and act accordingly. Given this information, whether you voted last week to affirm particular requests, given that they were late or not, I see that it's only fair that we make this amendment for Quiz Bowl's money. I don't need any more time.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, we are now seeking debate in the negative on the amendment. Is there any debate in the negative? Caucus Leader Compton?
Point of information, do we know if any other applications were submitted on that Friday but after the 4 p.m. deadline?
Yeah, so I was on the committee, so I can actually answer that one. That extended deadline was not advertised because the applicant reached out specifically to the treasurer, so no other ACTs were given the opportunity to submit late. But that being said, Tram, correct me if I'm wrong, none of them also reached out late as well. Go ahead, Tram. Just say what you're going to say and I can repeat it into the mic.
Yeah, okay, so yes, that's the only application or proposal that was sent or that was late because I received the email at 4:44 p.m. and I see it at 4:59. So it would make sense to open them to 6 since I can't open for a minute to get it submitted and then it's gonna get closed
Still seeking debate in the negative, Treasurer Pham.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick, for the thorough explanations. But for my side of the story, first of all, again, I'm the chairs of academic competition team. I'm not a voting member, so keep that in mind as well. For the 4 o'clock deadline, I have put this out at the beginning of the month, and we have a whole month open for this proposal applications on Org Central. And then on top of that, if you can't already see, so $87,300 is typically what ACT would have to allocate. However, that is the amount. Before pre-callback, it was 90,000. That's why we're pulling 2,700 out of reserve to fill in that, to make sure it's 90,000 for this year and a year after this. But before then, again, with callback, we only have $87,300 to allocate. But then again, we're pulling out $2,700 just to fill in the 90,000. And if you can look already, the amount requested is 3 times the amount that we have to allocate. So like Nick mentioned earlier, we can just pull money out of reserve, but the minimum amount that we have to keep in reserve is 40% of the 87,300. But again, that is the minimum we have to keep in reserve. And then on top of that, again, every year, this is a common number. If you look back from previous year and the year before that, the amount requested is always double or triple the amount that we have to allocate. If we keep pulling money out of reserve because we can, or then I don't know how long this is gonna last for futures. I don't know if we can even allocate $90,000 a year anymore and have to decrease that in future years because of this. But yeah, that's all I have. And if you guys have any clarifications, I can happy to answer.
Awesome, thanks, Tram. Seeing as that was debate in the negative, I am now seeking debate in the positive. Is there any further debate in the negative? Chair Long.
Oh, it's so much better now. Okay, so like the treasurer and the previous speakers were stating, the treasurer wanted the committee to be able to debate and decide the validity of the application. She did not disclose that to the applicant, but she informed the committee of that. So the question now becomes, does the chair's perceived lack of transparency warrant overturning the committee's decisions and disregarding the statutes that every other organization was held to? And I fervently believe that answer is no. We can debate about the exact wording and meaning of the statutes. We all know the vast majority of students aren't reading the exact statute words to try to figure out when they're turning in deadlines. They turn in deadlines based on what we tell them to. And the ability of chairs to set time-based deadlines is not a contention here. That is what we do for literally every single other funding form and method of funding entirely. It's also we hold each and every single applicant to. Every other group was held to that 4 o'clock deadline, and a quick glance at the Org Central pace for funding shows at least 2 other groups substantially completed those, but did not finish it by the deadline. It is also important to note that the committee received several online submission presentations. So basically, the way the treasurer set it up is if you wanted funding, but you were not able to attend an in-person presentation, you were allowed to submit an online presentation so we could play a video, we could see what you're wanting to request. Several of those were received late after a deadline the treasurer set, and we as the committee voted not to consider those, or those pieces of evidence, as it were, because we didn't want to consider anything late at all. We didn't consider those late pieces of evidence. We should not consider anything else late as well. At the end of the day, it is the fact that the committee has the ability to override the decision of the chair. The committee voted unanimously not to consider late applications. Quizball's application was late.
Thanks, Jacob. Seeing as that was debate in the negative, we are now seeking further debate in the positive.
I have a question.
Question of privilege? You can defer your speaking rights.
Yeah, I confirm my speaking rights too.
Okay,
So did the applicant for Quiz Bowl still present the next day?
Yeah, the applicant for Quiz Bowl was actually a member of the committee, so he was present and had given an opportunity to present. After the presentation, the committee made the determination that the application shouldn't be considered. But there was no requirement to give a presentation. We could have made decisions based just off of applications, if that's the concern.
Okay.
Sorry, that got kind of debate-like. I shouldn't have done that. My apologies.
How was the $2,100 determined?
Yeah, Nick, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
Speaking for the committee, we generally try to fund portions of different important things we felt the team's needs. It could be like registration fees and travel fees. Since the applicant was a member of the committee, they were able to know what that generally would be, and that is an accurate number what the committee would probably have allocated. I forget who asked that. I apologize. During you, Caleb, but okay.
All right, seeing as we just had debate in the negative, is there any further debate in the positive? Chair Saya.
Alrighty, thanks, Evan. I think when you're voting today, the question that you should be asking yourself is extremely simple. Was Quiz Bowl's application submitted by the last Friday in February? I think that answers yes. Vote yes.
Thanks, Nick, for that debate in the positive. We are now seeking debate in the negative. Chair Talbert?
I have a question.
Granted.
So, does Tram have the ability, so is Tram, in her position, she has the ability to set the deadline for the time?
Yes, that's how we've done it for many years into the past.
So is that more of we've just done it that way, or is that like a legislative, power?
Jacob?
That is set to us by the SGA account.
Are there any further questions before we move on to debate in the negative? Seeking speeches in the negative, Senator McFarland.
Okay, this is not really debate. Just kind of wanted to point out a little clarification because I was on this committee. The person who introduced this funding to the committee was also on the committee. And so I just wanted to point out for previous people who submit funding to the Academic Competitions Committee or to any other committee that don't introduce the funding if you're on the committee. It just helps out. Just kind of solves a bunch of problems. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thanks, Adrian. Are there any further speeches in the positive? Communications Director Getz.
I completely understand the deadlines thing, but has anyone ever submitted an application or an assignment late? I think that's the only question I have, and I think the other thing is, growing up, my dad was a business owner, and he taught me how to be a leader. And it's not only about the leadership you have, but what you do as a leader and your character behind that. And I just think it's important for people to remember those things. And that's it.
Thanks, Kennedy, for that debate in the positives. We are now seeking debate in the negative. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Seeing none, are there any further speeches in the positive? Senator Gomez.
I defer my speaking rights to Austin Ruff.
Okay, so I was on the committee not last semester, a couple months ago as well. So I just want to offer my perspective on the thing, in the situation here. So there was a lot of things that went wrong that day. So first of all, probably someone who was speaking on behalf of their club probably should not have been on the committee, but that was what happened, and that's what the situation we're in. Also, they shouldn't have been privy to, what other clubs are presenting, but that also happened. Another thing that happened was, shoot, now I'm blanking. Give me a second. Oh yeah, so members of the committee, it shouldn't have mattered if the application was submitted late. The members of the committee should not have known that. All the information they should have had was, we have this application, here it is, it was turned in and TRAM accepted it. So that's all members of the committee should have known, and that's all they should have been basing their decision on. And here's some things that happened in the meeting that I just want to share. It was kind of a hostile environment and a toxic environment. So take that as you will as to how members of this committee are treating other members of the student body, and let that impact your decision. And also at the end of the day, this negatively impacts students if they don't get their funding. Members of Quiz Bowl are here tonight, so if you do not vote on this, they are not going to have funding for next year, and that's going to negatively impact them, and that's going to negatively impact the student body in the university. So please take all those things into consideration when you vote.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin, for that debate in the positive. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Senator Lynn.
So to talk a little bit on previous speakers' points, I have tried to submit assignments in late, and you know what my teachers tell me? You're an adult, suck it up. Those deadlines are really hard in classrooms all of the time. We have to turn things in on time. I really take issue with the fact that one particular committee or one particular club was given the opportunity to still present and turn in their application late when no other clubs were given the same opportunity. Had that been advertised to every club that had started an application and didn't get it in on time, maybe this would be a different story. I think it's really telling that the person whose club did get that extra opportunity was also happened to be on the committee. I don't think that that's right. I would also like to mention that Quiz Bowl can still apply for travel funding here in the fall if, you know, they're going to be going to competitions and stuff. This is not the only way they can get funding, so they're still going to have that opportunity later on down the line. However, because they didn't get that form turned in on time, I don't think you should be voting yes on this amendment.
Thanks for that debate in the negative, Peyton. Is there any debate in the positive? Caucus Leader Bellamy.
Yeah, first of all, I find the phraseology of suck it up to be a bit alarming. I don't think we should be using that in any context. And I think this is really pretty cut and dry. Does Quiz Bowl deserve this money? Yes, they do. I think that we should give it to them because they deserve it, and they submitted this minutes late, not hours. This is such a minute change, and this is the money that they deserve. We should give them this money. Vote yes.
Thanks for that debate in the positive, Drew. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Senator McFarland.
Question of privilege.
There's a speaker that has not waited.
Okay, I also wanted to point out one more thing. A lot of past speakers have pointed out that they submitted their form late. The person who submitted the form, who was also on the committee, was also 4 hours late to the committee meeting. So if that adds to kind of lateness.
Thanks for that debate in the negative, Adrian. Are there any further speeches in the positive?
Question, please.
Granted.
What round are we on?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was the 6th opportunity for a speech in the negative, so we are now on the 7th opportunity for a speech in the positive. Chair Long?
Call previous question.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to call the previous question. Are there any objections?
Objection.
JK. Oh, yep. Okay, so we'll take a hand vote. All those in favor of moving to the previous question, which means we immediately move to debate on the amendment, raise your placard now. Proxies raised 2.
Voting on the amendment?
Voting on the amendment. Yep. All right. All those opposed to moving to the previous question. Okay, I don't think that met the threshold to move to the previous question. So that being said, we will now move on to debate in the positive. Senator Scheer.
To defer my speaking rights to Austin.
The point of this body is to help students. So in the words of a previous speaker, I would say to all of you, suck it up, get your personal opinions out of the way, do the right thing, and give Quizable their money because they deserve it.
Thanks for that debate in the positive, Austin. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Chair Long, you've only spoken once, so go ahead.
Well, this got a little hostile a little fast. The decision of the committee not to fund Quizable had absolutely none involvement with the actions of the applicant in the committee. The committee voted not to consider Quizable's application because it was late. It would not matter if it had been any other person, if that person's been in the room, if any other actions had been taken. It was purely because the committee voted it late.
Thanks for that debate in the negative, Chair Long. Are there any further speeches in the positive? Senator McPhee. Caucus Leader McPhee.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's new ones?
My bad. I'll make sure to do that.
That's okay. So just like last week, we voted no against it because it breached a contract because those are the rules. And just in this week, just as Nick, yeah, as previous speakers have said, they followed the rules. It didn't have a specific time for when it was supposed to be turned in. It just said the last Friday of February, if I got that right, and they did. And honestly, it's like, it's Quizable. Like, they got to do their thing too, you know? So that would really suck if they didn't have the money. And like, this debate's been really conflicting for me just because last week I voted no on the amendment because it was late. But really, if we just look at the facts and the rules, like, it'll tell us where to go. Like, that's what we're here for, so vote yes.
All right, thanks for that debate, Haley. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Seeing none, are there any further speeches in the positive? Senator Pilchard.
I wish to defer my speaking rights to Max Harmon.
Same price?
Yeah.
Josh.
Yeah, things have gotten really like meshed up, and so I just wanted to help clarify. I know, especially since I was involved in the mix-up last week, I feel super bad about that. But this week, I really do want to eliminate a couple of the past previous debates that got really all mixed up. One of the previous speakers did a really good job of clarifying the decision the committee made. They determined that this was late. That was wrong. The treasurer extended the deadline. She had every authority to do that per the statutes. The statutes say the last day of the month. This was in the last day of the month. Again, the committee ideally should never have known that information. That discretion is up to the committee chair. They're following the statutes, totally within their purview. I absolutely understand the committee's opinion, but ultimately that isn't the decision of the committee. The committee just has the applications. And so this is very much an execution of the process issue. Execution of the process is the duty of the committee chair, and ultimately dictated that by the statutes and the funding guidelines. So I just wanted to kind of clarify those, set the air a little bit clearer. I really don't think this should be an emotional thing. Absolutely, it is unfortunate that other clubs, you can try and make the argument that they didn't have the opportunity to do this, but I would actually counter argue they kind of did. This was the only one who reached out, and they were minutes away from trying to submit the form. Honest mistake. The committee chair decided to extend the deadline just to make sure that they could put this in. Other committees, other applicants, if they would have come up, try and submitted it and came up with a closed form, a message, they could have absolutely tried to email the committee chair. And so absolutely, hopefully this doesn't happen again. But this is exactly the kind of exception reserves are for. The treasurer made their decision, and the committee valiantly tried to override that. I can't blame them for having strongly held opinions, but ultimately that wasn't their call per the statutes and per the precedents and decisions afforded to the committee chair. So I think this amendment should pass. I don't think it should be too big of a deal. Absolutely, we don't want to be doing this every year. This is obviously not an every year kind of thing. This is an exception. This is what reserves are for.
Awesome. Thanks for that debate, Max. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Yeah, O'Donohue on Zoom. Trey, I'm sorry, you have spoken twice. You can't speak again.
Thank you. I would just like to clarify again, as previous speakers have said, the circumstances have changed. Whether or not they submitted it late or on time is, of course, important, but doesn't really matter now, because what we're evaluating is whether or not we should give them this funding. And as a previous speaker has said, that if we do give them this funding, it would be detrimental to the balance of the reserves. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for that debate in the negative, Ariana. Are there any further speeches in the positive?
Question.
Granted.
The treasurer Pham spoken once in final
Yeah,
action.
I got it.
The amendment.
Thank you. I realize now. Thank you. That being said, are there any further speeches in the positive? Senator Paz.
What's poppin'? So talking about this, this organization did reach out and did get the deadline extended, and they did turn it in, if I recall. And kind of just going off of previous speakers, how do we want student organizations to view SGA? If they make these efforts to come here and take time out of their day to speak, and it's like, hey, we got the deadline extended, but it still got denied because they thought, hey, it's late still, but like they got the deadline extended, they turned it in, but we still viewed it. Now it's late. How are they going to view that? How do we want other student organizations to view SGA? If we want people to come here and actually be supportive and be more involved with SGA, we should give them the grace, like, all right, don't worry, we got you. We got to hold each other up and make sure that we all are, what's that word? I'm trying to find that word. We want every organization to be united and not be separated because they did this to us. I don't want to support them anymore because if you can't do that simple thing in supporting me, why am I going to go to your events or show my support to you? That it's the small things that I think that matter in just other student organizations, and this is one of those things that I think is can help bring all student organizations and more exposure to SGA. Yeah.
Thanks for that debate in the positive, Alex. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Chair Pondello?
Hey guys, so this is coming out of a place of love. I love all of you guys in here. It's been a little hectic in here, but my reason for being in the negative is that if it was submitted 40 minutes late, that means that the person knew along the lines within the time frame that it was going to be late whenever they submitted it. They knew it was going to be on time, and for them to ask a question to the treasurer to extend a deadline is because they had a personal connection. I don't think if it was those two other organizations that didn't fill it out, I feel like if they were a part of SGA, they would have asked as well because they have that interconnection. Since they don't, it's not fair, not equitable. I'm voting no.
Thanks for that debate in the negative, Joseph. Are there any further speeches in the positive? Senator Gomez?
Hi, everyone. I want to just reiterate for all of my debate folks in here, I just want to cross-apply what previous speakers have talked about having to do with process and policy, because I think those individuals are very knowledgeable in like funding and whatnot. So cross-apply that, please. But also, I really just like want everyone to reflect on why we're here and why we're in this room. And I also want to thank everyone for the debate that we've had, because I think this is truly like what student government is about. And I know that at the end of last term, when we talked about presidents of student organizations coming here, we were all really excited about wanting to get more presidents of student organizations in here. So I think it's really fantastic that we have a whole row of Quiz Bowl in the room. But you know, they're here because of something that they want to see changed, and I also think that that's fabulous as well. So you may remember the very first Student Senate meeting of this term, I asked everyone to write something down. It was like a value or a goal or a mission for this term. And so if you did that, if you humored me, I want you to reflect back on what that was. And so if it had anything having to do with helping students, then I really think that you should vote yes on this amendment, because it is going to help these students. I'm getting some laughs. I hope you guys are just loving my speech. Thank you very much. So we're here to help students. These students have clearly shown us that they want to see this change. We have talked about what happened in the committee. We've had knowledgeable speakers talk about the process and policy. And so giving this logistics side of the debate as well as the more pathos side of the debate, I only see voting affirmative for this amendment. So Quiz Bowl, thank you so much for being here tonight, and talk to these individuals. They're here, no one else does that. We do not see other people from different student organizations in this body. We should celebrate them for being here, even though it kind of sucks the reason why they're here. Thank you.
Thanks for that debate in the positive, Rachel. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Treasurer Pham.
Hi guys, it's me again. Okay, I'll promise this is my last one up here. Okay, again, I know, thank you so much, Quiz Bowl, for coming in person today. And yeah, like, I really appreciate you guys coming and hearing what Senate have to say. And again, like, my role is kind of like ended already, but because of academic competitions team and I'm the author of it, I have to come and present this all to you all. So to oh my God, I can't even talk. Okay, so academic competition team. Again, Quiz Bowl can apply for SAC funding, which is the student allocation chairs, but for the SAC funding in the fall. And then on top of that, so I don't know if it's gonna make much sense, but previous year, the past treasurer, like, cause again, I'm new to SGA and this is like my first time serving on ACT, and I wanna do my best and I wanna like make sure everything go smoothly, which is not, if you can tell, in this room already. And of course, I was like, this is my last thing that I want to see happen. But again, I'm not a voting member. My goal is just, of course, get all the applications together and get it to the committee member with voting right. And then for the deadline, last year, Treasurer Hine, he opened the application on February 19th, and it was due on February 26th, which is the last Friday of February. But for me, I felt like that deadline or that timeline was 1 week. And for me, I opened this February 1st alongside with Sport Club and advertising as many things as, to many people, to many organizations as I can, and posted on K-State Today as well. And giving it 25 days, I felt like this is like 2 weeks more than what last year would have done. Therefore, I don't know if miscommunications or something along the side, like, oh, when, again, past speaker have talked about like lay assignment and stuff like that. Yeah, everyone have done it. But the more time we give someone, do they take advantage of that time? Or is it because, like, you can just have more time to slack off? Like, I totally understand, like, all of this is so hard. Like, again, I'm not a voting member. This is all on you guys. I'm, like, done with my roles, and I'm just ready to leave. Like, but yeah, that's all I have.
Thanks for that debate in the negative, Tram. Are there any speeches in the positive? Director Brown?
Point of clarification. How many rounds are we at now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That was the 11th round of speeches. Chair Phillips.
I move to address the previous question.
It's been moved and seconded to call the previous question. All those in favor of moving immediately into a vote on the legislation, or a vote on the amendment, please raise your placards. Proxies raised too. Awesome, thank you. No, same sign. Okay, so that motion does carry, so we will move immediately into a vote on the amendment. All those in favor of adopting the amendment, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised too. Okay, no's, same sign. Okay, so that amendment does carry. Bryce, will you please pull up the amended version? Give Bryce just a second, and then we can move into debate in the negative. It's in my drafts folder.
Point of information really quick.
Granted.
On that amendment, can we put in that whereas clause 2100.00 just to make it consistent formatting wise?
Is that friendly, Nick?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
So do the 4800.
So scroll down a little bit. Line 33, Bryce.
Yep.
Put 4800.00.
And line 29.
And yeah, line 29 as well. Thanks for that, Blake. Okay, so the amended version of the bill is up on the screen, and are there any speeches in the negative? Any further speeches in the positive? Any further speeches at all? Great. Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote on Bill 1.
Okay. Anderson.
Yes.
Bannister.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Brown. Carey.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Coy.
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes by proxy.
DePaz.
Yes.
Dole.
Abstain.
Grills.
Yes.
Grolmus.
Yes.
Heatherman.
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yep.
Johnson.
Yes by proxy.
Calorie Kjell.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes.
Kermer. Nisley. Lister.
Yes by proxy.
Long.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Adrian. Or,
Yes.
excuse me, McFarland. Yeah.
Yes.
McPhee.
Yes.
Middle.
Yes by proxy.
Murphy.
Yes.
Navarro.
Yes.
O'Donohue.
Yes.
Oury.
Yes by proxy.
Pelton.
Yeah.
Phillips.
Yes.
Pilchard.
Yes.
Pondillo.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Roth.
Yes.
Saya.
Yes.
Solomon.
Yes.
Shear Alexa.
Yes.
Shear Carson.
Yes by proxy.
Schindler.
Yes by proxy.
Stout.
Yes.
Strout.
Yes.
Talbert.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Volgamore.
Yes.
And Wolf.
Yes.
Bill 1 passes on a 44 to 0 to 1 vote.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Seeing as that was Bill 1, we will now move into final action on, oh my gosh, if I can find it, Bill 3. Will the author please come forward?
Okay. There were no changes made.
Sorry, yep. Thank you, Peyton.
There were no. Okay. For years, SGA has held the stigma that we are elitist, exclusive, and far too self-important. While this isn't a claim that I would make myself, I can certainly see where they get it from. While we claim every day to stand up for equity and inclusivity on our campus, there are places within our own organization where I don't believe that we uphold those same values. So when we're looking at the GPA requirements right now for student senators, there's a 2.0 for undergraduate student senators and a 3.0 GPA requirement for graduate student senators. And I want to mention specifically that this is student senators because not everyone in our organization has a GPA requirement. In fact, student senators and student body vice president and student body president are the only people in the entire SGA organization that have a legislative GPA requirement to sit in their positions. Cabinet directors, the speaker pro tem, parliamentarian, intern coordinators, communications directors, and committee chairs all do not have a legislative GPA requirement to be in their positions. As an education major, we hear all the time in our classes that grades are not an accurate representation of a student's abilities or intelligence. And I certainly don't believe that it reflects somebody's ability to serve in a position in SGA. Not only this, but it disproportionately affects our first-year students more than anybody else. Over the past several years, there have been multiple instances of students coming out of their very first semester as interns and as SGA interns who showed plenty of dedication and passion for the organization, but then they were turned away when it came time to running for a Senate seat because they had had just one rough semester. Those students only had to fail a couple of classes in the very first semester they were in college to become uneligible for a seat in our body. If I were to fail a semester right now, that wouldn't really affect me very much. My GPA is high enough because I have 3 semesters worth of cushion behind me that would keep it up if I failed a few classes. However, those first-year senators and those first-year students don't have that same situation. All they have to do is fail a couple classes in that one semester, and that's the only piece of cumulative GPA. That's the only piece that is going into their overall GPA. So we see that it disproportionately affects those first-year students, which I do not think we should continue to be doing. Not only this, but it's really harmful to have these types of requirements, especially when we're talking about creating a culture of inclusivity. I think of a really close friend of mine who came here. She was a first-generation college student, first-generation immigrant, and she came to K-State, and the transition that she had from high school to college was really, really hard. It was like a rough couple of semesters. She had no support because none of her family had gone to college. She didn't have a lot of experience in this kind of situation, and had a really hard time when she came to college. That is one of the smartest, most empathetic, and hardworking people I know. And I don't think that if she were to want to come to this body, that the fact that she had had a rough couple of semesters in college would affect her ability to serve in any position in this organization. There are a plethora of extenuating circumstances in any student's life that could contribute to them having a below average GPA. However, I don't believe that any one of those extenuating circumstances actually extends to them not being able to fulfill their job as a senator. Involvement in extracurriculars also statistically indicates better class attendance and higher GPAs, so we should be not discouraging these students.
The speaker's time has expired.
I would
Caucus Leader
encourage that you
Compton?
vote yes.
Caucus
I'm
Leader.
good. I think I got my point across.
Awesome, thanks. Thanks for that debate in the positive, Peyton. Are there any speeches in the negative? Senator Anderson.
All right, so we're here at K-State to get a degree and learn, and if you can't maintain a cumulative 2.0 GPA, then you obviously aren't learning very well, so you need to focus on school rather than other things. Thanks.
Thanks for that debate in the negative. Tate, are there any speeches in the positive? Senator Strout?
I have a question.
Granted.
So has the speaker always not gotten a GPA requirement, or is that like a new thing? Has that changed over time?
Peyton did a lot of research on that, so I'll let her address
I
it.
sure did. Since SGA, since we first implemented a GPA requirement, it has only ever,
When was that?
sometime between the years of of 1946 and 1969. I looked through all of the minutes of all of the historical meetings, and a bunch of them were missing right there in the middle. As of 1969, that's the first thing that I can find that talks about a GPA requirement. But since 1969, the only people that have had a GPA requirement have been senators, student body president, and student body vice president.
Is there a reason for that?
Who knows?
Yeah, Senator Heatherman.
I have a point of information. While it's not legislated, my understanding is that the SGA advisors always run a grade check at the start of every semester and before elections. And I do know in the past 5 years, there's been like multiple people not considered for committee chair positions, et cetera, based on GPA.
Thank you for that clarification, Hannah. Seeing as we just had debate in the negative, are there any further speeches in the positive? Chair Talbert?
I had a question.
Granted.
So does the Center of Student Involvement have, do they have a GPA requirement, or is it just SGA is saying that there's a GPA requirement?
Yeah, it's just in our constitution.
So sorry, can I follow? So
Granted.
it's they don't, we impose our own GPA.
Yes.
So somebody could be in a, okay.
Are there any speeches in the positive? Senator McPhee? Yes, you can.
Hey guys, it's great to see you all again. I thought I'd pose a hypothetical to you all as I kind of heard about this legislation. So a lot of you didn't know me in my days when I was referred to as Normac instead of Cameron. That was my first semester of college when I liked to be really, really ornery. Normac was my alter ego. I'd tell people that was my name when I was doing mischievous things. Normac is Cameron spelled backwards. Well, in that first semester, I finished with a 2.5. Had I not taken Leadership 212, I would have finished in the 2.2 range. Had I have got a D instead of a C in public speaking, I would have finished in the 2.0 range. You know what would have happened after that? Cameron would have considered running for Senate. Son of a gun. I can't run for Senate. Cameron can't become in cabinet. Cameron can't run for student body president or vice president. Cameron never gets involved. I don't believe it is our body as a whole's duty to legislate who can and can't run for Senate. I think that is the provost. If the provost thinks someone is ineligible to be a student at Kansas State, it is their duty to treat them as such. But it's not our job to police that. If they're a student at K-State, I think they should be able to be a student senator. And then, I guess, moreover, just GPA requirements in general. This spring, I became a tour guide for new student services. Since then, Blake, you'll thank me for this, but enrollment's on the way up. But that was something I really, really wanted to do. My first semester, you had to have a 3.0 GPA. I didn't have that. I think GPA requirements, by and large, are put in place, and they're just a barrier to people entering, especially when you're struggling to fill positions, and they're a barrier that don't necessarily need to exist. I yield the floor for questions. I do not yield the floor. But thank you, guys.
Thanks for that debate, Cameron. Seeing as that was a speech in the positive, we are now seeking speeches in the negative. Senator McFarland.
Okay. I chose to come up here and debate on this piece of legislation tonight to encourage a no vote for the GPA requirement to change. My philosophy is that student government, and in this case, the legislative branch, is the face of Kansas State University. We as a body have a large leadership role, and I believe a large part of this role is having a required GPA. From middle school until you graduate high school, a requirement for competing in sports or academic teams is to have a 2.0 or higher GPA. Maintaining a 2.0 GPA is not a new standard by any means. Yes, college comes with new challenges and life struggles. Each and every one of us have experiences life's hardships. I have certainly had my fair share since being at Kansas State University. I am personally not a book smart person. I never have been, and I never will be. But what I am good at is time management, not giving up until a task is complete, and giving something my all. Each and every one of us in this room is capable of doing this. I have always made the choices to choose my grades over late night parties and drinking because of the honor it is to have a leadership position, such as College of Arts and Sciences Senator. Not everyone has to compromise going out with grades, but some of us do, and some people need to make these decisions and don't. This should not lead the SGA requirement to alter. Life is full of choices, and each one of them has consequences, good or bad.
Thanks for that debate. In the negative, Adrian, we're now seeking speeches in the positive. Senator McPhee.
I'm up here to debate that we pass this because GPA requirements are an ableist and a classist thing that has been around for a long time to keep our diversification low. And a lot of people will argue that it's easy to keep this GPA. I know for a fact from personal experience, because I deal with manic depression and a severe anxiety disorder. It is hard for me to even get to classes most of the time. I actually have special permissions to have most of my classes online. If you didn't know you could do that, you can do that. Contact your counselor. It's sometimes extremely hard to keep good grades because of testing anxiety or anything like that. And honestly, like coming to these meetings is what gets me out of the house and gets me involved in something and like gives me a purpose. And why would we keep students from doing that? That is like, that is just not the point. Like having this could help a student feel like they need to be involved more, do better with their schoolwork. Like having this barrier, a GPA, like it's really ridiculous. And a lot of colleges are getting rid of like ACT scores and SAT scores. Like that's where we're headed. That is the future, because having good grades does not determine whether you actually understand any sort of content that is given. Like, just think about it. Whenever you're in class and you take a test, do you guys actually think you could recite all of the stuff you learned from that semester to somebody? Do you actually think you could do that? I mean, if you can, like, go ahead. But that A does not determine, like, anything. Half the time when you get to your job, like, they're going to teach you how to do it anyways. College is just a stepping stone to learn about yourself, make friends, have a good time, go to those parties, because those are you're gonna remember that. I can promise you that. Or you won't, I don't know, depending on the night. But that's what's gonna remember. I hate GPA standards. I think it's so stupid. I think it's ableist, it's classist, and anyways, I think we should get rid of it.
Thanks for that debate, Haley. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Senator Strout.
Remember to unplug your computer.
Just saw an awe of shock on Marta's face, and now she's recording me. But I would love to give you guys a little bit of a hypothetical. Imagine you're in 6th grade and a teacher tells you you're stupid and you'll never go to college. That is horrible. Absolutely horrible hearing that in 6th grade. And you have trouble reading and writing and understanding language, but you work your butt off to keep it clean every single day. That was my story as a kid. I have dyslexia. I am completely able to hold that 2.0 GPA. Now, is it hard? Yes. Do I have to work harder than a lot of people? Yes. Do I not go to parties because I should be studying and doing school? Yes. That's how we need to look at this, is that if you are having struggles with school, you shouldn't be
doing a ton of other things. You should be trying to focus on school, getting tutoring, asking peers for help, finding people in your class, finding study groups to talk to help you succeed. And so, yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
Thanks for that debate, Will. Are there any further speeches in the positive? Chair Talbert.
I actually, what's the word? Felt a lot about what Peyton was saying when she was talking about her friend that was like a first generation college student. For me, I was a first generation college student, and like my parents never really took academics seriously. So coming to college was like very new to me. I didn't understand like how hard it'd be. I think another issue that like previous speakers have talked about is that like kids must be like partying and stuff and they should be studying every night. When like some kids don't party every night and study hard and still do bad in their classes. I can say that I had that problem last semester. Terrible at math. And I struggled in my math class. And I can't imagine, like, I even have friends that like went below the 2.0. I can't even imagine like judging their character and saying, you are like not worthy of representing students because of your GPA, but somehow I have like a few points higher than you and somehow I'm more qualified. I think that's completely elitist. And I don't think that, and this is another issue too, is that like, let's pretend that, GPA, like about, not partying this and that, the consistency in the organization where I could literally be president and I have to keep my 2.0 GPA, but my whole cabinet could have failing grades across the board. That makes no sense to me. And so I think that we should be consistent with that and say that the GPA requirement is stupid.
Thanks for that debate, Bentley. Are there any speeches in the negative? Senator Stout.
What information really? Senator Roth's been on Zoom negative for a while, but yeah, just making sure that's been seen.
All right. Previous speakers have spoken about how the GPA, and this is demeaning to their worth. I don't think it's about that at all. Right now, the point of coming to college is to get your degree, as previous speaker mentioned. Employers do care about your GPA. So if you're not doing well, you probably should focus on that. Otherwise, you might not get a job, and that's kind of why we're here. Additionally, we are the student governing association, so we probably should be students first.
Thanks for that debate, Caleb. Are there any further speeches in the positive? Senator Heatherman.
I'd actually like to move to refer this back to Senate Exec.
All right, it has been moved to refer this back to Senate Exec. Does that have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Hannah, you have first rights to debate.
My thought here is that we've already heard some debate on both sides, right? It's clear, based solely off of the number of people who have spoken in the negative, that as a constitutional amendment, this is not likely to pass in its present state. However, that does not mean that there's not merits to it. I think it's worth having our lovely speakers tonight come to the table and see if there's a middle ground.
All right, thanks for that debate, Hannah. Are there any speeches in the negative on the motion to refer?
Question of privilege.
Granted.
How many, I have a couple actually. How many senators do we have present with proxies, and how many are selected and qualified?
Ooh, so we swore in two. Give me a moment. We have 46 selected and qualified. We have 45 present with proxies. Did you have a follow-up?
No.
Thank you. So, granted.
For his question. Yeah. How many negative speeches have there been?
There have been 4 changes in the positive and 4 changes in the negative. We were back to positive on the bill. There have been no negative speeches on the motion to refer. So we are seeking negative speeches on the motion to refer. Senator Pondillo. Chair.
So I feel like referring this back to Senate exec wouldn't do much just because of the fact that like one side made it clear on their point of view, another side made it clear on their point of view as well. So with that being said, I think the vote total will speak for itself and there's no need to send it back to exec.
Thanks for that debate, Joseph. Are there any speeches in the positive? Senator Lynn.
So this was an exec this past week, and it came out favorably, unanimously favorably. Anyone who is opposed to this, I really, really would encourage you to come to Senate exec, so that maybe there can be some more talk on the bill and maybe the possibility to amend it. But I would really encourage you to send this back to committee.
Thanks for that debate, Peyton. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Senator Solomon.
I'm of the opinion that this debate we're having on this piece of legislation is the question of whether GPA requirements are good or bad. Regardless of what happens in Senate exec, it is going to either be a question of, are we eliminating this GPA requirement, or are we keeping it in some form? I'm of the opinion that keeping any sort of GPA requirement is a negative, and so sending this back and altering it to be a 1.0 GPA or 1.5 GPA is going to do nothing to improve our situation, and it's actually going to make matters worse.
Thanks for that debate, RJ. Are there any speeches in the positive? Senator Kalari-Kial.
Okay, so I think we should refer this back to Senate exec because first of all, I agree that like a student's GPA is not an accurate or meaningful reflection of the ability to serve effectively in a KSU SGA position. But I believe that this bill should not pass because first of all, a student who is on academic warning should first prioritize their academics instead of extracurricular activities. I want to ask you guys a question. Why are we all here at K-State? Can I still talk about this? No?
No.
Okay, well, I wanted to pull something up. I wanted to point out the fact that K-State's dismissal policy is that for freshmen or transfer students, they have to earn less than a 1.0 term GPA in the first semester. And I think that's like important to consider because right now it's a 2.0 for everyone. And I don't think that's fair to freshmen.
So is this debate on the motion or debate on the bill?
Is this not debate on the bill?
No, we are currently debating on the motion to refer this back to the Senate Executive Committee.
I still think you guys should send it back to the executive committee. Okay, my bad. Sorry, you guys.
Thanks for that debate, Jyoti. Are there any speeches in the negative? Chair Thomas.
Hey guys, I don't think sending it back to executive committee is going to do anything. It was there 2 days ago, and unless anyone who has debated in the negative plans on coming to Senate executive next week, it's not going to do anything. So don't send it back to Senate exec.
Thanks for that debate, Kate. Are there any speeches in the positive? Senator Strout.
So as you guys know, I debated in the negative. I will gladly go to Senate exec next week. There's a ton of great things you can do by maybe transferring winter credits to spring credits to make that GPA better, a bigger class loads harder, and doing the same thing for the summer to fall. And so I think there's definitely different ways we can look at this. So I think transferring it back to exec and me being there voicing this opinion may help us kind of rethink and restructure this bill properly.
Thanks for that debate, Will. Are there any speeches in the negative? Senator Bannister.
I move to call the previous question. Second.
I'm sorry, the previous question is not in order at this time. So are there any further speeches in the negative? Seeing, is this negative debate, Director Brown?
No.
So first of all, I want to commend everyone that will be wanting to go to Senate Exec if that's your prerogative. But I just want to speak to the previous speaker's speech about taking extra, what's that word for not when it's not in term, but like winter and summer classes?
Intercession.
Yeah, intercession, thank you. But so intercession classes, that raises the debate of affordability and just when it comes to a lot of elitist classist debate has arisen, and that being able to afford those classes as well is something that we have to consider. So thank you.
Thanks for that debate, Ethan. Are there any speeches in the positive on the motion to refer? Seeing none, are there any speeches in the negative? And are there any further speeches at all? Okay, seeing none, we will move into a hand vote on the motion. So all those in favor of referring this back to the Senate Executive Committee, please raise your placard now. Proxies raised 2. All right, noes, same sign. Okay, thank you, everybody. That motion does fail, which means that we will move back into debate on the bill, starting with debate in the positive. Are there any speeches in the positive? Senator Bannister.
Hey guys, I just want to share a personal point real quick. Earlier this semester, I had a 1.8 GPA, but because I happen to have access to a lot of money through previous scholarships, I just dropped 2 classes, add another 8-week class, and now I have a great GPA. This is completely a question of privilege. If you have money, your GPA is whatever you want. There are legitimately completely useless classes which you can get an A in that are 8 weeks, and you can just enroll in them for the second half of the semester and completely change your GPA. It's a really easy system to manipulate, and like it shouldn't be because someone like me has privilege that I could continue to do that and then be in a different position than like someone who also, similar to me, had mental issues and would not be able to do that because they don't have that privilege and they're not aware of all of K-State's resources. So you can like literally buy your GPA at an institution. So I don't think that it should be a qualifying factor.
Awesome, thanks for that debate, Will. Are there any further speeches in the negative? Senator Kidd?
Not for me, but has Ben Roth been on?
Yeah, Senator Roth, if you have debate in the negative, you can give it now.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Coming at you from home. My thing is we're student senators. We should be holding ourselves to a higher standard. A 2.0 GPA is pretty manageable. I've had to kick multiple brothers out of our fraternity because they weren't able to maintain a 2.75 GPA, and that's pretty tough. That's tough to do in general, and so I feel like a 2.0 GPA is right where it's at. And again, we're leaders on campus, and so we should be leading by example and getting good grades. Thank you.
Thanks for that debate, Ben. Are there any further speeches in the positive? Caucus Leader Compton.
Hi, everybody. I know we're all tired of hypotheticals, but I have one more that, in my opinion, kind of shows why this entire benchmark system doesn't really work. So you have 2 students, student A and student B. Student A has straight 70s in their classes, just straight C's. This could be a little bit higher, like 71s or 2s. We don't have plus or minuses at K-State. So, anything in the 70 to 79.999, whatever range, is classified as a C. So they have straight 70s. That gives them a 2.0 GPA on the dot. Student B is taking the exact same classes, the exact same course load, and in one of their classes they have straight, in all of their classes they have straight 70s, except in one class where they have a 69.99. That puts them below the 2.0 threshold. And I know that sounds a bit hyperbolic, but cutoffs like this actually happen pretty frequently. It just begs the question, because it's like, why would 0.01%, that is certainly a possibility, why should that determine someone's ability to serve in this extracurricular body? Why shouldn't it be 1.5 or like 2.3 or something like that? It just kind of shows that no matter where you place that benchmark, there's always these weird outliers that it just seems like, well, there's no real reason to disqualify this person just because of a very small marginal difference in performance in a certain class. So to me, this requirement is needless, it's ableist, and it just doesn't really represent what we should be putting forward as a student body. There's been a lot of discussion about student senators leading by example, and I think a far worse metric to that would be us maintaining elitist and disclusionary practices such as this, rather than anything that previous speakers have stated. Thank you.
Thanks for that speech, Tommy. Are there any speeches in the negative? Senator Clark-Kiel.
I'm sorry, you guys. I gave the wrong words at the wrong time. But regardless, I want to get back to why are we all here at K-State? We're here to obtain a degree, right? I'm here to get my bachelor's degree in science. We are all in here for an academic institution. The primary goal of a higher education institution should be to provide students with quality education. And if the problem is that students they have less than a 2.0 GPA, we should be addressing the root of this problem. And the root of this problem is not the GPA requirement. The root of the problem is the lack of resources that we provide to students to be successful within the classroom. So I had a friend who struggled with mental illness, and he had to drop out of college because of the lack of resources that he had. Do you think that him being able to serve in SGA, think about all of the hours and time commitment that you put into student government. How is someone who has a whole bunch of life extenuating circumstances, how are they supposed to manage their job, academics, and SGA all together and still be able to pass classes? A lot of previous speakers have mentioned about being ableist and classist, but removing the GPA requirement will not solve this problem. Take a look at this room. Would you say that we're being elitist right now? I think we are, but removing the GPA requirement will not stop us from being elitist. Another thing that I want to point out to you guys is that we are the K-State Student Governing Association, so we should follow K-State's rules. So I pulled up the Kansas State Academic Warning Dismissal Policy, and it says that students who are freshmen, if they earn less than a 1.0 GPA in the first term, then they are dismissed. I don't agree with, no, I agree with the fact that the bill should not, I'm so sorry, you guys. I feel like freshmen should not be held to this standard of having at least a 2.0 GPA because that is not fair to them because they haven't been here as long. Which is why I think you guys should vote no on this. And that is all.
Thanks for that debate, Josie. Is there any further debate in the positive? Chair Saya.
Josie. Okay, sorry about that. I think there are two very distinct issues that we're trying to settle in this debate. The first is whether a person with a low GPA is qualified to serve as a senator, and the second is whether or not it is good for their academic health that they serve as a senator. So let's focus on the first one. One of the very first positive speakers pointed out that it's the provost's determination whether or not someone is good enough as a student to attend this school. I am a proud student of the College of Engineering. I know lots of people with a GPA higher than 2.0. I know substantially less people that I would trust in this room making decisions. I don't think that GPA, as many previous speakers have stated, has any basis on a person's ability to care about students or make decisions properly. So that whole argument about them being unqualified is a wash. If they can get elected, they have the power to serve here and represent students. The second issue is one that I sympathize a lot with because it's putting students first about whether or not it's best for them to be a part of this body with other academic concerns weighing on their mind. Now, first, I would totally agree with the point that they should be prioritizing their classes. But study after study after study has shown that participation in extracurriculars actually improves academic performance over hurting it. So if you believe that you should be voting no on this bill because you want students to focus more on their classes, I'm only asking that you vote to reflect the facts, which are that participation in this body especially has proven to improve academic performance.
Thanks for that debate, Nick. Are there any speeches in the negative? Senator Stout.
I move the previous question.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to call the previous question on Bill 3. Those in favor of moving into a vote on Bill 3 right now, please raise your placards. Proxies raised too. All right, no, same sign. That motion does carry, so we'll move into a roll call on Bill 3 right now.
Okay, Anderson.
No.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Brown. Excuse me, I Miss Bannister.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Carey. Compton.
Yes.
Coy.
Yes.
Davidson.
Yes, by proxy.
DePaz.
Yes.
Dole.
No.
Grills.
Yes, by proxy.
Grolmus.
Yes.
Heatherman.
Pass.
Hoffman.
Yep.
Johnson.
Yes, by proxy.
Carly Curl.
No.
Kidd.
Pass. Sorry.
Kermer. Lister.
Yes, by proxy.
Long.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
McFarland.
No.
McPhee.
Yes.
Middahl.
Yes, by proxy.
Murphy.
Yes.
Navarro.
Pass.
O'Donohue.
Yes.
Oury.
Yes, by proxy.
Pelton. Phillips.
Pass.
Pilchard.
No.
Pondillo.
Yeah.
Rogers.
Yes.
Roth.
Yeah. I heard no.
Side.
Yes.
Salmon.
Yes.
Shear. Alexa.
Yes.
Shear Carson.
Pass again.
Schindler.
No, for proxy.
Stout.
No.
Strout.
Yes.
Talbert.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Volgamore.
No.
And Wolf.
No.
Okay, going back to the passes. Brown. Not here. Heatherman.
No.
Kidd.
Yes.
Navarro.
Yes.
Phillips.
No.
Shear Carson.
Yes, by proxy.
Strout.
No.
Okay.
Roth is a no.
Roth is a no. Noted. Okay, so that is a 31 to 4 to 0, which to meet a 2/3 majority, it passes.
There were more than 4 no.
No, there were. Oh, 14, excuse me. Yes. 31 to 14. That's an important one. 75%, yeah. Okay.
Chair Phillips?
I move to reconsider Bill 3. Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded to reconsider Bill 3. Chair Phillips, you have first right to debate on the motion. For those of you that are confused, Blake was on the prevailing side of the bill, which means he was on the side of the bill that won. So he has the right to make the motion to reconsider the legislation, which means that we will debate and vote on it again.
Little strategy for you there, folks. That's what 3 years will do for you. So here is my proposition to you all. Let's go ahead and now refer this back to the Senate Executive Committee. We know that this is really close. This is a super close vote, as we just saw. I had a yes/no calculator going on my phone, and we were like within 1% of, or not 1%, within a few percents of having that pass. So my proposition to you all is let's send this to the Senate Executive Committee like we tried to earlier. There is potentially a middle ground that can be reached. I think we can all agree that, well, maybe not all of us, but those of us who voted yes, or me in spirit voting yes, that there's still ground that can be made up with this and we can still improve our organization. So with that, I would encourage Senate Exec to explore those solutions. So I hope you will join me in referring it to the Senate Executive Committee.
I apologize. This is actually not a debatable motion.
Well, I withdraw that.
My bad. Blake tricked me. So, the motion to reconsider whether or not we want to debate and vote on this piece of legislation again. All those in favor of the motion to reconsider, raise your placards now. All those opposed, same sign. All right, that motion carries. Senator Phillips?
I move to refer resolution or Bill 3 to the Senate Executive Committee.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to refer Bill 3 to the Senate Executive Committee. Chair Phillips yields his first rights to debate if anyone would like to claim them. Senator Anderson?
Can I call for previous questions?
No, you cannot.
I'll claim this Blake's rights.
Yeah, Chair Long claims the first rights to debate.
Yeah, people want to have debate, discussion about this. We all agree it might be something worth looking at. We want to talk about the best way to do it. Let them have debate and discuss about it. Let it happen.
Thanks for that debate, Jacob. Are there any speeches in the negative? Senator Scheer?
Yeah. Okay, I'm all for this bill. I voted yes. And I'm sad it didn't pass, but I also I don't necessarily love the tactics of reconsidering bills consistently like every other Senate after we've already voted on them. I think that that's not really great for the overall democratic norms of our system here. I don't necessarily think that the tactics and the strategies after bills have passed when the solution is not what we want, not what I want, is really a great tradition for us to start here, really something that we should be feeding into. So I don't think that we should send this to Senate Exec, especially since we've already voted no to send this to Senate Exec and no on the bill as a whole. But I'm sad the bill didn't pass. So that's in my debate. Thank you.
Alexa, take your name tag. Thank you. Thanks for that debate, Alexa. Are there any further speeches in the positive?
Point of order.
Chair Long?
People keep bringing named plates up. Are we supposed to be doing that?
You can if you can. You want to, you can if you don't want to.
Okay.
Anyway, any further speeches in the positive? Senator Stout.
I've just got a question. What exactly does it take to pass this? What's the vote?
So that's an excellent question, actually. So this is a constitutional amendment that requires 75 or 3/4 of the body that is currently selected and qualified, which means of the senators that we have sworn in. Doesn't matter if you're present, doesn't matter if you have a proxy, you just have to be sworn in to count towards that number. We currently have 46 sworn in, which means we need 36 to vote in favor to pass the legislation. Chair Talbert?
I have a question, I guess.
Granted?
Juan said Kermer, but I know he's not.
Yeah.
We get a. Okay.
So since he hasn't been sworn in, we don't call his name.
Oh.
Yep. Anyway, debate in the positive on the motion to refer. Senator Heatherman.
Jacob got me all psyched out. I've 5 years and I've never brought this up. I just quick wanted to say I do think that I know the last time I was up here on this same motion, everybody afterwards was like, okay, the middle ground's going to be, a 1.0 GPA or a 1.5 GPA. I think that there's a much more
holistic conversation to have about like the well-being, academic, mental, all of it, in Senate exec. And I really think that there we can talk about things like appeals processes or more leniency or a one-time warning, grade checks at December. I think that there's a much wider range of possibilities than slowly inching that number down. So I would urge you to come to Senate exec and have that conversation and vote yes.
Thank you for that debate, Hannah. Senator Kidd?
Question.
Granted.
Do we have any sort of data regarding Senate's mean or median GPA, what it's been for the past 5 years? If we don't, who would have that information? Just for us to look at.
Yeah, so that would be, Kelly usually checks the grades. I'm not 100% sure that it would be legal to disclose that data. That might be a FERPA violation. Derek, what's your thought there?
Possibly.
Yeah.
We're not really probably individualizing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't have that data. Kelly would have to do some digging to get that data, so I'm not sure it would be possible. So, in short, no. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, are there any further speeches in the negative on the motion to refer? Caucus Leader Compton.
This is a point of clarification, sorry. I think just for the information regarding constitutional passage, I'm pretty sure we need 35 votes with our current member numbers.
So any percentage of a person rounds up to a whole person.
If I did my math right, 46 times 3/4 is 34.5, I think.
Oh. My bad. Oh, I was counting for one extra person because we have one seat accepted. My bad. 35 is the number of the night.
What was the positive vote count again?
31. Oh my God. Anyway, seeing as that was a speech in the positive, are there any further speeches in the negative? Senator Stout.
I'm pretty against this for a couple of reasons. To me, it seems like, why even try to stop something if we're just going to reconsider it and send it back and do this stuff? And the fact that we only have 46 sworn-in senators, it makes you wonder, why aren't there more senators? Well, this is part of the reason why. We keep rehashing out things we've already discussed and came to a decision on. This is why this is why we have a hard time filling seats in SGA. So once we pass something, let's just move on.
Thanks for that debate, Caleb. Are there any further speeches in the positive? Senator Lynn.
I would like to pose all of you a question. So if we're all in agreement, a student with a 2.0 is still a student. I would like you to all ask yourselves why a student with a lower GPA has any less of a right to representation than any one of you do. I don't think they do. And I would strongly encourage you to spend this next few days while we, wait to send it back to committee, to come and have some of those one-on-one conversations, to think about your answers to those questions about why those students are any less deserving than you are, and maybe have a little bit of a reconsideration. I think that these are really important things that we need to be talking about. There weren't a lot of questions after introduction of this bill, so what I'm guessing is that maybe there wasn't a whole lot of thought put in before this debate started tonight. I would like to invite all of you to spend the next several days really thinking hard about who does and doesn't deserve representation, because in my book, I think every student on our campus deserves that right.
Thanks for that debate, Peyton. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, are there any further speeches in the negative? Any further speeches in the positive? Chair Pondello. I'll get it right one of these days.
Yeah, so the issue that arises in my head is that people just aren't listening during Senate, and at the very end, they're like, oh, cool, we get to go. But they don't listen to Speaker Porter whenever he says, I'm referring this bill to yada yada. So make this be a learning opportunity that whenever a bill gets sent to a certain committee, you can certainly pop up there and have disagreements then. And to point out previous speakers, I don't know what it is, topics. People leave because they get tired of people not learning. This is a learning opportunity, so whenever you see a bill being submitted to a committee to be referred back to Senate, please take that chance. Please do that, because now we're sitting here in a situation where next week is going to take more time.
Thanks for that debate, Joseph. Are there any speeches in the negative? Senator Kidd?
Question of privilege. When's our last meeting before we break for the summer finals or whatever?
Yeah, so we have one more meeting next week, which means that the Senate Executive Committee will also meet for one more time next week. Caucus Leader Compton?
Apologize if I miscounted. I moved to consider the previous question.
You did miscount.
Sorry, guys.
Seeing as that was debate positive, are there any speeches in the negative? Any further speeches in the positive? Any further speeches at all? All right, seeing none, we will now move into a hand vote on the motion to refer. All those in favor of referring Bill 3 to the Senate Executive Committee, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. No, same sign. Okay, that motion does carry, so Bill 3 will be referred back to the Senate Executive Committee. And with that, we will now move into final action on Bill 4. If the author will please come forward.
What is the vote count?
We don't take a vote count on a hand vote. Chair Phillips.
I move to divide the question.
Ooh, I don't think it's pending anymore. What?
No, this.
Oh, sorry, Bill 4, Bill 4.
Oh. Will you let RJ present first?
Should he not present?
Okay, anyway. I withdraw that. So Blake moved to divide the question, which don't look at your placards because it's not on there because it's a tricky one. The division of the question is when the main motion, which is what Robert's Rules calls a bill, is divided into 2 parts. So Blake, will you please state those parts?
Yeah, so this bill addresses both removing the minimum request amount and the maximum amount of time someone can be allocated money. And so my motion to divide the question is saying that we consider those 2 things separately as one bill that talks about the minimum amount and one bill that talks about how many times something can be funded.
Okay, thank you for that explanation, Blake. Is there a second on the motion to divide the question?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to divide the question. This is not a debatable motion, and it requires a majority vote to pass. So all those in favor of dividing the question into the 2 parts that Blake just described, raise your placards. Proxies raise 2. Raise them high. Thank you. Okay, all opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion did fail. So, author, will the author please come forward of Bill 4?
Hello, everyone. Okay. This piece of legislation, I believe, has a extremely beneficial impact on not only this body itself in the funding procedures we're undergoing, but also on K-State student body in general. For some context, the reason I proposed this piece of legislation was because in the past, organizations applying for DPC funding have been dissuaded from applying in the first place because they cannot meet that $3,000 minimum. They have to either 1, not apply at all, or 2, they have to buff up their amount of funds they're trying to apply for just to even get there in the first place. Secondly, the impact we have because of that is diminished because we're not utilizing all of the diversity programming fund in the first place. As such, we have never utilized that fund to its fullest extent. We've come close in some years, but especially these past 2 during COVID, when individuals in general just aren't putting on as many events, we haven't reached that by far. So I believe our goal as Student Senate should be to make the diversity programming fund competitive before we make it restrictive. That is to say, it is preferable for the DEI committee responsible for allocating these funds should be responsible for making difficult allocation decisions rather than just simply not allocating these funds at all. Our goal should be to use the funds that are given to Student Governing Association to impact students rather than not using them to their fullest extent. I believe this piece of legislation achieves that for three main reasons. First, accessibility and usage. I believe it increases the accessibility and subsequent usage of the Diversity Programming Fund. Eliminating the minimum allocation request requirement encourages organizations of all sizes, not just large ones who can apply for $3,000, but small ones who might not be able to reach that, to develop both small and large-scale intercultural learning events. Second, increasing the total number of projects the committee can fund per organization per fiscal year to 3 will allow organizations to put on additional events in the future. I believe that by decreasing the minimum to 0, organizations will be able to apply more and want to apply more, and therefore should have more opportunities to do so in the future. These two changes in conjunction are what make this piece of legislation so effective. An eliminated minimum means more organizations applying for more funding, thus necessitating an increased maximum number of events to 3. Second, we have a greater intercultural learning impact here at K-State. Both additional small and large-scale cross-cultural experiences and education projects positively impact the culture of K-State. The DPC committee and the fund in general were created to give money to students who could make these impacts. By restricting this and not allowing students to access it in the first place, we are not only harming our goals as Student Senate, but also the impact it has on students. I believe it does 3 things. First, it increases the visibility of Student Governing Association when it comes to our advocacy and action in the areas of intercultural learning. Second, it increases the diversity of organizations and events. In the past, only events that had that $3,000 minimum could be put on, which were large ones that had very specific things that would happen yearly. And I believe with this, we're going to have a greater diversity, whether it be smaller ones individuals can go to, all the way up to larger ones that have been going on for years. And finally, I believe it increases accessibility to organizations and events. I think individuals who would be attending these events in the first place might be more willing to do so if they know their specific small organization is putting on one for them, and therefore they might invite their friends and other individuals they believe benefit from it. And I think most importantly, I believe it is our responsibility as student leaders to represent the students we represent. This legislation does just that. In the past 2 weeks, I've reached out to the 30 organizations that received funds from the DPC committee in the past 5 years. I got responses from 10 of them. 4 out of those 30 either did not exist or didn't have any information in Org Central to even contact in the first place. Of those 10 meetings, all of them were in favor of this and were excited about this change. They believe this allows them, and especially smaller organizations who haven't applied for these funds like in recent years because they're just not big enough, this allows them to put on events that they've wanted to put on for years. And we should be in favor of that. It is not our responsibility to be the ones who decide whether or not individuals should get funding who are passionate about it. It should be our job as facilitators to utilize those funds to their greatest effectiveness to allow us to have the impact they can have.
Has expired.
Thank you.
Thanks for that debate, RJ. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, we are now seeking debate in the negative. Any further speeches in the positive? Chair Long.
All right, apology about rehashing what RJ said. I was out for a second. But yeah, the idea that, okay, we want to have an event, but we got to have $3,000 worth of events, so let's raise our amount to take more money to have that event is silly and nonsensical. And it also, if you have to have at least $3,000 events, it takes away from the total number of events that can be funded. This helps fund more events and makes them more sensible in general.
Thanks for that debate, Jacob. Are there any speeches in the negative? Any further speeches in the positive? Senator Bannister.
I'm supporting this legislation because I think all too often we keep on putting barriers on ourselves in the SGA, which are better addressed at the committee level. Like, we should be developing norms and means in our committees because that's where the best and most intentional work gets done. So when we take away limits like this and allow more discussion to actually happen in the committee, it's just better for us being able to represent students and help them. So I would encourage you to vote for it.
Thanks for that debate, Will. Are there any speeches in the negative?
Scratch that, sorry.
Yeah. Are there any further speeches in the positive? Any further speeches at all? Senator Pilchard?
For positive, I'd like to defer my speaking rights to Max Harmon.
Granted.
I think this is a
super cool change, definitely in line with the committee restructure and trying to get, add some more teeth to the DEI committee and be able to work around some funding regulations and be able to get more student organizations their dollars. So I think this is really good. I wanted to come up here and just point out context. That's the whole reason. Yeah, that's the only reason I want to be here, is just to provide context and with some of that. So what I want you all to consider is the important fact that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but at least for FY 2022, DPC was originally allocated 144,000 and change, 287. What I wanted to make sure to mention is this coming year, the entire student activity fee is going to be reviewed by the Student Services Fee Committee. And so it's going to be very important that you all, as the people who are going to be voting on the eventual recommendations that committee makes, keeps this change in mind, because this makes a fundamental change to the use of DPC money. Whereas previously, this money was specifically set aside to fund larger events. It had its own special pool and was non-competitive for general open student organizations. It had specified uses. And I just want to make sure that the body is aware that is $144,000 that we are opening up versus the pool that is open to every single student organization to just host on campus and travel. So it's split between the two. For our main funding committee is the campus organizations subline item, which is totaling just shy of only 55,000. So I find it highly likely. I'm not going to be on the committee next year, but since this essentially opens up the requirements for that money, lowers the $3,000 barrier, and kind of changes the philosophy of what this pool of money is meant to be used for, it's very important that you not lose context of that. And so if there are changes to the balance between those two line items coming once the Student Services Fee makes their committee decisions, if they decide to reallocate and either equal those out or reduce DPC dramatically, either to save funds or even reallocate some of that to the bigger, more general pool for both all student organization travel and on-campus events, don't lose context. We are fundamentally changing the philosophy of what these funds are meant to be used for and putting it basically on par with the open bucket of money in terms of like minimum spending wise, but this money has specific requirements on who can use it. And so naturally, it should probably be less than the entire open bucket of money. That's an opinion, but that decision will ultimately be made by the Student Services Fee Committee and recommended to you all. So I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to point that out because I think that's very important, and I won't be here in the fall to point it out then.
Thanks for that debate, Max. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, are there any speeches in the negative? Any further speeches in the positive? Any speeches at all? All right, seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote.
Anderson.
Yes.
Bannister.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Brown. Carey.
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Coy.
Yes.
Davidson. Davidson's proxy. Davidson.
Nick.
Yes, by proxy.
Paz.
Yeah.
Dole.
Yes.
Grills.
Yes, for proxy.
Gromas.
Yes.
Heatherman.
Yes.
Hoffman.
Yep.
Johnson.
Yes, by proxy.
Kalari Kjell.
Yes.
Kidd. Yes.
Lister.
Yes, by proxy.
Long.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
McFarland.
Yes.
McPhee.
Yes.
Middaugh.
Yes, by proxy.
Murphy.
Yes.
Navarro.
Yes.
O'Donohue.
Yes.
Oury,
Yes by proxy.
Pelton,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Yes.
Pondillo,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Roth,
Yes.
Saya,
Yes.
Solomon,
Yes.
Shear Alexa,
Yes.
Shear Carson, Marcus,
Yes by proxy, sorry.
Schindler,
Yes.
Stout,
Yes.
Stroud,
Yes.
Talbert,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Volgamore,
Yes.
and Wolf.
Yes.
That bill passes unanimously.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. So, seeing as we have now exhausted our final action agenda for the night, we will move into introduction of legislation. So, is there a motion to consider Bill 5? Senator Solomon.
I would consider Bill 5.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 5. If the author will please come forward.
Alrighty. Bill 222305, amendments to the KSU SGA bylaws regarding TFSC. Authors Blake Phillips and Michael Dowd, sponsors myself. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association should continue to review its governing documents, whereas the Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee is a central part of our shared governance model, and it is critical student-led checkpoint for all university and college-specific fee changes. Whereas the formation of TFSC in 2010 came from a history of tuition and fee increases with limited input from students. This led to the student body president candidates campaigning on both increased transparency and student involvement in the tuition and fees process. Whereas the mission of TFSC is clear, to review college-level fees and to evaluate new proposals affecting tuition and fees. Whereas each fall, TFSC is assembled via at-large applications with representation from each academic college and immediately tasked with reviewing current college fees based on a 3-year cycle. Whereas each spring, TFSC is tasked with considering new fee proposals that have been approved by the provost. This proposal process triggers the formation of the subcommittee called the College Tuition Committee to evaluate the merits of the fee on a localized college-by-college basis. Whereas historically, this fee process was handled entirely through TFSC with limited focus or representation from the specific colleges in which the fee would be assessed. This led to approval and disapproval of fees by representatives who were not members of that respective college. Whereas the CTC process was established in the spring of 2019 to further solidify the fee proposal process by assembling campus leaders in that specific college to assess the merits of the proposed fee, provide insight, and ultimately vote to approve or disapprove the fee proposal. Whereas the new CTC guidelines from the spring 2019 revisions were not formally added to the KSU SGA bylaws, and the last time the fee proposal process was initiated was during the 2018 to 2019 term. Moreover, this process was halted due to the Kansas Board of Regents tuition and fees freeze, thus institutional memory was lost regarding the CTC process. Whereas this loss of institutional memory created operational confusion in executing the CTC process for both the College of Business and the College of Arts and Sciences fee proposals this spring. Whereas CTC membership selection, as well as chairing and vice chairing duties were not defined and were left to the interpretation of the Speaker of the Student Senate and the Student Body President. Whereas including the entire college's caucus led to large committees and created challenges as senators had conflicts with the CTC's meeting time. This amendment reduces this challenge by only requiring half of the caucus to serve on the CTC. Whereas the fee proposal process steps such as approval from the provost, presentation to college council, presentation in a student open forum, and certification from TFSC are now solidified and legislated with this addition to the KSU SGA bylaws, whereas adding the new CTC guidelines as well as clearly defining the fee proposal structure in the KSU SGA bylaws provides a stronger foundation for the college fee proposal process and legislates that student voice is heard during fee proposals, whereas the name College Tuition Committee is confusing as the committee does not consider tuition, and whereas the name College Fee Committee is less confusing and provides a better description of what the committee actually reviews. Be it enacted that Section 1, Article 4, Section 12A of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association bylaws shall be amended to read as follows, and all of those changes are down in 6. So that is the addition of college fee committees shall be subcommittees of the Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee. In the event that the provost has submitted an academic college fee proposal to the Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee, a college fee committee shall be established for that academic college. A college fee committee shall be composed of the following members. 1, either the student body president or the speaker of the student senate, who shall serve as chair and shall not have voting privileges. 2, the tuition and fee strategies committee representative representing the academic college who submitted the fee proposal, who shall serve as vice chair and shall not have voting privileges. 3, at least half of the respective college caucus members whose academic college submitted the fee proposal shall have voting privileges. 4, a group of college leaders that the numbers 3 more than the number of college caucus members in that academic college who shall have voting privileges and shall include the following. A, students from the college council or equivalent ambassador group. B, students from multicultural student organizations. C, at least 1 student from each of the following groups: freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and graduate students. D, remaining students at large. 5, members of the college tuition committee college fee committee shall be chosen by the student body president and speaker of the student senate. B, yeah, we'll have some formatting things to fix here. But B, each college dean shall present the fee proposal to the college fee committee and answer student questions. C, each college dean shall organize an open forum for students within the fee presenting college to provide an opportunity for feedback on the proposed fee. D, the college fee committee shall evaluate the merits of the college fee proposal and shall vote on an official recommendation to be sent to the university president and provost. E, upon passage by the college fee committee, the academic college fee proposal shall be reviewed by the tuition and fee strategies committee, who will vote to accept or deny the fee proposal. The tuition and fee strategies committee shall only evaluate if the appropriate processes were followed correctly, as outlined in Article 4, Section 12A6 of the KSU SGA statutes. That should be bylaws. And F, upon voting by the Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee, the student body president and speaker of the student senate shall send the college fee proposal to the university president and provost with an official recommendation by the Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee. Section 2, this legislation shall take effect upon passage by the student senate and signature of the student body president.
Awesome. Thanks, Blake. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? All right, seeing none, you may take your seat. And with that, is there a motion to consider Bill 6? Chair Long?
Consider Bill 6. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill. Senator Heatherman?
I move to allow the author to summarize.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow the author to summarize, and it's been moved and seconded to consider the bill if the author would like to come forward.
Okay, thanks everyone. I don't need this. This is a super straightforward change. It's very tiny. It is a small tweak to how oversight works. I am just asking for more of Senate's approval on official actions that we take, because I want to make sure that our documentation is reflected as an official SGA document, just like student services fee contracts are, or our statutes or bylaws. They're a reflection of what Student Senate believes, so it should take your approval to make substantive changes. That's that.
Thanks, Nick. Oh, thanks, Nick. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, you may take your seat. And with that, is there a motion to consider Bill 7? Caucus Leader Compton?
Move to consider Bill 7.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 7. If the author will please come forward. Chair Thomas?
Motion to allow the author to summarize.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow the author to summarize.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. So this is pretty simple. You will see up on the screen here in just a second. Go up to the top if you don't mind. Yeah, so you'll see in the author and sponsor line that my name is listed twice. This bill is trying to get rid of that. So basically, it just makes it so that as long as a senator's name is on the piece of legislation, or speaker, speaker pro tempore, or any able party, as long as their name is somewhere on the legislation in the author or sponsor line, the bill can come to the floor. It just makes it so you cannot be listed as both an author and a sponsor, because if you're an author, you more than likely support your piece of legislation. So there isn't really a need to list it twice like that. The only other change is in line 80, saying that a roll call vote shall be taken when requested by 15 senators. All bills shall require a roll call vote for passage unless otherwise noted. Is that change because we changed our allocations process. So those do not require roll call votes. That was just a quick insert saying that it is noted elsewhere that we do not do that for that specific thing. So I'll stand for any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Blake. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? Andrew Booz.
Yeah. Would it be better to say, unless otherwise noted in the governing documents or something like that? Because otherwise noted could just mean on the bill.
I mean, I think either works because it is still noted somewhere. And I haven't, like, it hasn't been a problem. So I mean, I wouldn't be opposed if someone wanted to amend it to say that, but I won't take that action right now, I guess.
Any further questions or corrections? Senator Kidd?
Yeah, so I remember the part about the author versus sponsor piece. I remember it from when it came up the first time. And I thought there was justification for why you could have your name as both an author and a sponsor, even though it may already be implied that if you wrote it that you probably sponsored. But what was the justification then for not having that distinction that you're trying to make now in action?
Yeah, so I believe people wanted to be able to still be listed as an author even if they didn't agree with the legislation. That was my understanding at the time. Personally, I just think it looks really silly and just messy, unprofessional. And so that's why I believe it should be one.
Any further questions or corrections for the author? All right, seeing none, you may take your seat.
I've got the next one too.
Is there a motion to consider Bill 8? Chair Long?
I move to consider Bill 8. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 8. Caucus Leader Bellamy?
Move to allow the author to summarize.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to allow the author to summarize. If there are no objections, take it away, Blake.
Thanks, folks. I only intended to be up here once this week, and then Tuesday happened, and I submitted a whole lot of things. But this piece of legislation is a resolution, or sorry, it's a bill that requests that we are able to transfer funds to essentially cover our student services fee deficit for the past year. So back in about September to October, we got projections of what our revenue shortfall was going to be for the student services fee. As I mentioned earlier in the meeting today, that was about $2 million. And the way that we solved that deficit was through some emergency budget cuts through our insufficient funds process, where we cut about $1 million and a little bit more than $1 million. We also took some money out of reserves. But then the remaining part of that $2 million comes from what we call bond surplus. So every year, students pay on our bonds. We have a bond for the rec and a bond for the union. Those are voted by the student body, and we have to pay for those. Due to legal restrictions, we have to overpay on those bonds just in case we were to default. So if we didn't have enough money to pay for 1 year, we are able to still make that payment. So that's why we have to be overcharged for that. Once we reach that certain limit, that amount just builds in what we call bond surplus, and we are able to use that money for a couple of different things. Ideally, we like to use that money for really cool projects for the student body. A couple of years ago, we were able to fund Cat's Cupboard through that to give them $80,000 a year to help with their operations. So those cool projects can come from it. But the other thing that we can use it for is emergency budget situations, and that is what we've been using it for more recently. So what this does is utilizes that tool to allow us to fill the rest of our deficit with bond surplus. This just allows that money to be moved. It gives that official okay. I'll answer any questions.
Oh, thanks, Blake. Are there any questions or corrections for the author? All right, seeing none, you may take your seat. And with that, is there a motion to consider Resolution 14? Senator Salmon.
I move to consider Resolution 14. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 14. Is there another motion? All right. This is Resolution 14, recommendation regarding distribution of EOF and SCTE funding. Authors, myself and Kate Thomas. Sponsors, Kate Thomas. Whereas student tuition dollars are set aside each year by the Office of Student Life to be allocated by the Student Senate through the Educational Opportunity Fund and student-centered tuition enhancements. Whereas historically, this money has been distributed unevenly between the two accounts. Whereas since fiscal year 2016, 1/3 has been allocated to EOF and 2/3 have been allocated to SCTE. Whereas SCTE has allocated less money than it had available in 7 of the last 8 fiscal years, and whereas EOF has allocated more money than it had available in 5 of the last 8 fiscal years, be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate recommends that these monies are distributed equally between the EOF and SCTE accounts. In Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Vice President for Student Life, Dr. Thomas Lane.
Are there any questions or corrections for the speaker? Chair Phillips?
Yeah, Evan, what is the current distribution set at?
Excellent question, Blake. So right now, based on the SCTE and EOF recommendations that we made for the coming fiscal year, we had $300,000 for EOF and $600,000 for SCTE. Blake and I sat down and did a bunch of math, and the way that we compared the historical, I think for SCTE we looked at amount requested versus amount allocated, and for EOF we looked at amount allocated versus amount available, and based on that was the best way to analyze the data based on the historical usage and historical requests of the two pools of money. And based on that analysis, a 50-50 distribution, that being $450,000 roughly to each account, got us with the tightest range for how much we overspend and how much we underspend. Thanks, Blake.
Are there any further questions or corrections for the speaker? Seeing none, you can take your chair, Evan.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. And with that, we will now move into our second open period. Are there any speakers for second open period? All right. Senator Gomez.
Hey, I just wanted to share a service opportunity. Context, I'm in the nonprofit leadership certificate, or I'm working towards it in the Staley School of Leadership Studies.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's go. I applied for a grant with another one of my peers. Her name's Caroline, and we were granted this grant. So super exciting. We have funds to carry out a service. Well, it's kind of like a service learning project. We are going to Meadowlark next Friday. We will be interacting with the residents at Meadowlark, and we'll be creating Mayday baskets. In doing so, the aim of this project is to build intergenerational relationships. And so afterwards, we will be writing letters to the residents that we connected with and try to keep that relationship going. So I need people to come with me to Meadowlark to do this. So if you're interested in this, it is something that you can get service hours for if that's something you need for your major or any other thing. It also is just a really cool way to get connected with people who you probably otherwise wouldn't spend time with. So if you're interested at all, or if you have an organization that you would like to share this opportunity with, please let me know. I'll stick around after Senate. What day? It's Friday, and it's gonna be from about 12:30 to 2:30, I think.
Tomorrow?
Sorry, no, a week from tomorrow. My fault. April 29th. Thanks for the questions. But yes, I'll stick around. If you have questions, please let me know. I'd love for you to come. Thanks.
Thanks, Rachel. Are there any questions for the speaker? Sorry, no. Are there any further? Senator Stretch, do you have a question?
Yeah. What's Meadowlark?
Oh yeah, Meadowlark Hills is a facility for older folks.
Okay.
Are there any further second open period speakers? Senator Solomon.
All right, I talked about this last week. Tomorrow, the LGBTQ leadership Kansas Leadership Conference is happening, both in the Multicultural Student Center and also in the big auditorium in the Union, whatever it's called. Yeah, Forum Hall, thank you. And so there's gonna be a variety of speakers, presenters, artists. I'm gonna be serving on a panel of different queer folks who are gonna be answering questions from individuals, ranging from how individuals can be better allies to kind of what LGBTQ goals are here here at K-State. It'll be really cool, very informative, lots of cool individuals coming to speak. And then the second thing I want to tell you about is next Friday at I think it's 6 p.m., could be wrong on that, the drag show is being put on by the Sexuality and Gender Alliance. And so that's a really cool show that happens every year. I would totally recommend you buy some tickets. I think they're going on sale on the 27th, 2 days before the event. I think they might also be on sale already. So both those events are really, really cool. I'm very excited about them. And yeah, any questions?
Awesome. Thanks, RJ. Are there any questions for the speaker?
Yep.
Director Brown.
Sorry, not you, RJ.
Oh.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
What's up?
Can you put the graphic back on for the march?
The Denim Day March?
Yeah, you used to have it pulled up.
Bryce, is that? It's in my inbox. It's one of the pinned emails. Should be the one from Kelly. Cool. There you go.
Just wanted to put that up there.
Thanks, Ethan. Any further questions? Seeing none, are there any further second open period speakers? Vice President Ebeck?
I defer my speaking rights to Cameron Koger.
You can.
I'd just like to say how gosh darn cool it is to be back. The last couple meetings of my term kind of were crazy whirlwind of me being on Zoom. But just being back and seeing how engaged you guys are and the dialogue that took place, I'm damn proud to be leaving this organization in the hands that you guys are. I know you're going to do a really good job. So kudos to you all. Stay out of trouble.
Thanks, Cameron. Are there any further second open period speakers? All right, seeing none, Juan, take it away with Senate shoutouts.
Okay, everyone. It's your favorite time of night. If I can get the form pulled up, that is. Okay. Shout out to the people who screamed in terror at Bryce's approach. Uh-oh, Marta's being rancid again. Ethan Brown has me acting unwise. First time you ever heard an SGA member talk about having clear vision in the Ville. Fun fact, I know the guy who wrote the agenda tonight. Shout out to Normac and whatever he gets up to. Cameron, Normac, Harvey Koger is an absolute saint. Shout out to Senator McPhee. Thank you so much for being a part of our body. Haley McPhee is the woman we needed. Haley ate that GPA debate up. Kate is serving looks for the girls and the gays. Shout out to Jacob Hoffman. Yup. Sneaky Blake. Shout out to Dakota's decaf Earl Grey tea. Shout out to Evan's long legs. Find someone who knows you like Blake knows Robert's rules. Shout out to our new senators. Shout out to Agro for always voting the exact same way. Nice pin, Bryce. Shout out to the Teeth Talk. Shout out to deferring to Max Harmon. Shout out to never passing a constitutional amendment. Shout out to Jacob's Chelsea boots. Shout out to some intense debate action. Shout out to Cameron Harvey Koger for having the opportunity to be in Student Senate. Shout out to everyone who called the question. Shout out to Bryce for his cowboy hat, question mark. Shout out to Jeff for being the highlight of my day. Shout out to Willie Stiles Bannister for being a real peach. SETE equals SETE. Shout out to Nick Saya for his sexy, sultry, seductive voice. Shout out to anyone who needs a shout out right now. You can do anything and overcome any obstacle. To Wildcat Chambers for always being the most frigid room I've ever been in. Shout out to nonprofit leadership. Shout out to Cameron Koger for being so gosh darn cool. And that's it.
All right, thanks, Juan. And with that, we have reference of legislation. So Bill 5 will be going to the Senate Executive Committee. Bill 6 will be going to the Strategic Oversight Committee. Bill 7 will be going to the Senate Operations Committee. Bill 8 will be going to the Student Services Fee Committee. And Resolution 14 will be going to the Tuition Enhancements Committee. Got quite a good spread there this week. And with that, Juan will take it away with our second roll call.
Okay, thanks, Evan. Okay, Anderson.
Here.
Bannister.
Here.
Barron.
Here.
Bellamy.
Here.
Broughton.
Here.
Brown. Carey. Compton.
Here.
Coy.
Here.
DePaz.
Here.
Dole.
Here.
Heatherman.
Here.
Hoffman.
Yep.
Kidd.
Here.
Calorikiol.
Here.
Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
McFarland.
Here.
McPhee.
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Navarro.
Here.
O'Donohue.
Here.
Pelton.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Pilchard.
Here.
Pondillo.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Saya.
Here.
Salmon.
Here.
Shear Alexa.
Here.
Stout.
Here.
Strout.
Here.
Talbert.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Volgamore.
Here.
And Wolf.
Here.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Caucus Leader Bellamy.
I move to adjourn this meeting until Thursday.
Second. Can you finish the motion? Is there a second? All right. You're all gone. We stand adjourned. What time is it? 9:42. Good job, everybody. Proud of you all.
I'm like 128, and I'm like, oh no, we just agreed to something.
Dakota, second.
5 hours? I don't know.
Dakota was ready. Maybe I should go up there and like, actually, I think we never have gotten involved in that GPA. I wish our GPA requirements were higher.
Bryce drew a plane if anyone wants to see it.